immediate investigations into the cases reported in here with a view to prosecuting anyone found liable for corruption or related offenses. To those who think they can defraud the state and escape justice, let this serve as a strong warning. Ghana is no longer a safe haven for corruption. To those who stand for integrity, accountability, and the rule of law, I assure you that this government remains your steadfast partner in building a nation where honesty and hard work are rewarded. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a defining moment in our fight against corruption. We must all play our parts, citizens, civil society, the media, and public officials alike. Together, we will build a Ghana that is just, transparent, and prosperous for generations to come.
Well, so the oral preparatory team, they have finished their work. The Attorney General now has that responsibility of carrying out investigations and verification of the information that the members of the general public submitted to them, and over 1,500 of them that they received in forms of petitions and phone calls, emails. But then the Attorney General this week has also been talking. Dr. Dominic Ayeni has justified his decision to discontinue some high-profile cases against state officials, including Finance Minister Dr. Kasil Atuforsen and Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Esiama. Now, at a press briefing within the week, I was there and asked a number of questions on your behalf, as you have been asking us here on Key Point. So we would play back his responses and then also the explanation that he gave to the decision to discontinue the cases and the charges, and describing them as defective and unprofessional, and in his view to continue the cases. Ayeni added that evidence adduced in these cases fell significantly short of what was required to convict these accused persons. Well, this is a matter that has been a subject of conversation over the period, and there are many who held the view that he's done something unprecedented. No Attorney General has come out to explain to the public why he decides, he or she, as a matter of fact, decides to file a nolle prosequi in a particular case. This has never been done. So, yes, people were calling for explanation. Let us know why you took this decision that has been done. Others held the view that he's only just opened himself up for scrutiny, the Pandora's box. Well, that's actually what's happened, because now his reasons giving is what is now being scrutinized. It's this morning, we'll have a conversation on Key Point. The special prosecutor this week declared the former finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, a wanted fugitive. That press conference this week, the special prosecutor Kesie Jabin revealed that all indications point out that Ken Ofori-Atta has absconded from Ghana in an attempt not to avail himself to investigations over alleged corruption. We'll have a conversation on this matter. Some 5 cases of alleged corruption that the OSP is leveling against Ken Ofori-Atta. Well, a number of questions on that particular declaration of Ken Ofori-Atta as a wanted fugitive. In fact, international media also carried it quite extensively. The minority leader says he's in low spirit because of what happened and the reports, as was confirmed, of his house being raided. We'll have a conversation this morning. What exactly is the OSP chasing? And this oral team will have a conversation as well on it. We have an exclusive this morning with the investigators and the persons who conducted that expose into the National Service rot, the ghost names. They will join us with some exclusive information this morning. Stay with us. It's a full bouquet, full package, as always, as we have it here on Key Point. We'll talk about the key issues that are of concern to you, the Ghanaian people, and we do that with you in mind and at heart. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. The conversation starts right now.
With DSTV, and we'll show up by giving you more incredible entertainment. The 31st of March, and get an even higher package for a whole month on us.
Buckle up, here we go.
There's nothing better than putting a little bit in, but getting a lot out.
Time to boost some office morale.
Incredible!
If you want to build a future, you gotta know what you want.
Step up, and we'll show up on your home of entertainment.
News lends itself to significant analysis, broad context through explainers, and the features that give stories more life. That's what we offer on Weekend Central. News, features, analysis, the full package. Weekend Central, Saturdays and Sundays at 12 p.m. on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
The spotlight is on. Get ready for your best Saturday evening entertainment show.
Welcome to Showbiz 360.
Where we serve you interviews, dance and music, educative, and so much fun content.
Who feed the cow when they eat the lizard?
What's the meaning?
No one not China they are club.
Every Saturday, we bring you your favorite celebrities, content creators, and people who keep you entertained on your screens daily. Do not miss with your host, Giovanni Caleb.
Best of entertainment right here, live on TV3.
This and every Saturday at exactly 8 p.m. is Showbiz 360.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Showbiz 360 show on Saturdays at 8 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by
Betway, winner big.
Cowbell Coffee.
Head of Honorable Bauer being appointed as acting chief executive of GMPC. Then he's been reassigned now to GOIL. Again, we heard of Honorable Anabisu going to Common Fund. Then now we hear Honorable Mr. Ishmael Yamson's son is going there. The president has just assumed office. It appears as though what is happening is Asedu Ketia Fabakon, Julius Debra Fabakon, Jenchen Chimbe, Ofa Bakwan, Mei Bakon, Ofa Bakwan, Mei Bakon, Sir Obieni Njia, Masisano. We have, Mr. Speaker, the president should not be sent into a lame duck rather too quickly. This posture doesn't give a good signal to the investment community.
The issue of other agencies, if you notice, all the letters that went out to the people appointed to the agencies didn't appoint them as substantive officials. They have been asked to go and act, and then subsequently you make up your mind where you want people to serve, then you do some realignment. So that gives the president the liberty, when he now settles down, to realign and say, okay, you move to this organization, you move to this other organization. That is where you may then be asked to serve as a
state institutions have been issuing termination letters, revoking appointments, and it is causing a lot of trauma to the youth of the country who have been employed by the states. I do not think that the intent of this letter was for state institutions to dismiss, revoke appointment. I believe that perhaps some clarity would have to be given. Is it the argument that even where the process had started and the time that you are giving your letter is post 7 December, so you should lose your job? Mr. Speaker, our countrymen and women
Our youth are being sent home. They went to office, they were asked to come home with these letters. Where do they find food to eat? How do they feed their families? How do they feed themselves? We all know that you must have fiscal space before you take decisions to employ people. You are leaving. We are coming in. We haven't told you that the public money that is available, we want to commit it to paying workers. So you cannot clock the fiscal space and then leave us with problems that we cannot deal with. So we pleaded with them to hold on with the recruitments. And at the meetings, they told us that so long as they had gotten financial clearance during the year, they will proceed with the recruitments. And we said that is wrong. Once you haven't done the recruitments, hold on. When we come in, we'll assess the situation and see whether we have fiscal space to do recruitments or not. So if you engage in such recklessness and you go and you know that you are leaving office and you decide to load the public sector with workers, that will make it difficult for the incoming government. What do you expect? What do you expect?
This matter came up strongly, not only in Parliament, but also outside of Parliament, with some press conference sometime within the week. But this is not the first time we are seeing this happening, where a government takes over and then a directive is given for something of a sort to take place. But in this particular instance, as you heard Mama Yarga reference, there was some correspondence which we have copies of. I'm going to show you. When the joint transition teams between the then President-elect John Dramani Mahama and also the former President Nana Akufo-Addo were meeting, that there wasn't going to be any recruitments after the set date. But we saw that happening. And so that has been the subject for the conversation. But this week, this is the directive that came through from the Chief of Staff, Julius Deborah. It's going to be on the screen. About some consistency with government pronouncement in relation to near end of tenure appointments and recruitments. And so he wrote this, bringing the attention to all appointments and recruitments made in the public services of Ghana after 7 December 2024 are not in compliance with established good governance practices and principles. Goes on to say that accordingly, all heads of government institutions hereby requested to take the necessary steps to annul any such appointments or recruitments and submit a comprehensive report on the actions taken to this office, that's the Chief of Staff's office, by 17th of February 2025. That's Monday. So this one is what generated some conversation on across the week when this came up. In fact, reference has been made to this particular letter that was signed by Phyllis Kwacho then on the 17th of December, that the transition team, both transition teams at the time, had met and a decision had been taken that as of 13th December 2024, the last-minute recruitments, payments, and such other actions should be cleared with the joint transition team. But then this letter said the NPP government at the time continued to recruit without recourse to the said agreement. I recall that the NPP transition team, that is the Nana Akufo-Addo's transition team, came out to indicate that there was no such agreement reached. And so they have no idea of what the President-elect John Dramani Mahama's transition team was talking about. This morning, we'll have a brief conversation on this matter, and that will lead us to other issues here on Key Point. As always, welcome. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com, also on a number of radio stations across the country. Welcome to Key Point. As always, there are many ways that you can get very interactive with us. Mary Ada is Executive Director of Ghana Integrity Initiative, Local Chapter of Transparency International, an anti-corruption civil society organization. Mary, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Alfred.
Okay. Let me also acknowledge the presence of Godwin Ejiji Tamaklo. He is the Director of Legal for the NDC and acting CEO of the National Petroleum Authority. Ejiji Tamaklo, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Alfred. And good morning to my co-panelists.
Okay. Also, Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner. He's a member of the DEN, Operation Recover All Loot preparatory team that has submitted its report, and the convener as well of the Komi demonstration. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Ocansey. Thank you. And it's good to be here. Ghana's #1 socio-political talk show, right? And let me quickly greet our fans on Facebook, right? Nimani, Salifu, Ganiu, Alhassan Ganiu, then there's Salifu, then Lebini, all of you. Of course, Zion Farms. Zion Farms is the chairman. You guys, we thank you very much for the support. And as usual, I want to greet Gamanche, Kentucky Teku Churu II, for his consistent efforts at trying to get justice in the Sicily Adapa matter. Gamanche, kudos and keep the good job. Yeah. I'll say Adeyo Ajiman Bedu II, or Mahini, the chief who would always wade in when necessary. Okay. He spoke when people were quiet, and that is the beauty of his courage. But Mahini, please continue. And finally, but not the least, Yasantua Sofoye Kufu. Thank you very much. Sofoye Kufu says she wants very serious constitutional reforms, that the judiciary should be made far more independent. The president should not have the powers to appoint Supreme Court judges willy-nilly. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you. Thank you as always. And then also Oliver Baka Vomawo. Is a private legal practitioner, the convener for the Democracy Hub, is also going to be joining us in a bit. And as we go on, as I indicated to you, a number of persons will be joining us for topic-specific issues that we're talking about this morning. But let's start off with this directive that came through from the Chief of Staff that I referenced not too long ago, asking that recruitments that were done after 7 December be revoked. We see reference made to what happened in 2017 as well, when you lost power, when something similar happened, and then we're circled back and then seeing the same thing happening again, this time in a different form. But then the fundamental question is, how can this vicious cycle be addressed, especially because of the people who are caught in this situation, having to have their employment status changed or cut off, maybe by no fault of theirs. What do you have to do going forward? Quickly.
Okay. So
that's
maybe,
a quick one on this.
Once again, I'll just use this opportunity to say good morning to our cherished viewers, those online as well who watch this program religiously. So once again, good morning. I think that we all need to have something at the back of our mind. As we grow this democracy, we need to reform what has been the practice or the norm over the period. One way to do that is through legislation. Until late 2012, thereabout, we didn't have a Transition Act. Yeah. I recall the transitional process in the year 2000. It was as though there was a coup d'etat. The year 2000. I mean, like, finally, Jerry Rawlings is gone. We have taken over. And it was extremely messy. The conversations that flowed subsequently resulted in the passage of the Transition Act, which eventually mandates that even handing over notes are prepared 6 months ahead of the election, among many other reforms. Joint transition scheme, among other things. So maybe we need to legislate and put it in the law that 3 months to an election, there shouldn't be major decisions taken.
Yeah.
Maybe by way of contracts, by way of employment or mass recruitment, among other things. We can legislate because that is where we all want to go. That is where we believe that the future should look like. We should be able to legislate. And I strongly believe that H.E. John Dramani Mahama has a legacy mandate to put a lot of these things into proper perspective. But you see, what surprises me usually is the concerns from our friends in the NPP. I don't know why they do this.
Why, exactly?
Because it's either they consider themselves, excuse my language, better Ghanaians or first-class Ghanaians or whatever. Look, me, Edwiji, I was cancelled for national service directors that were recruited late 2016. In fact, early February 2017, the then acting CEO for national service, now MP for Yagaba Kubori, the Honorable Yusuf, issued a statement withdrawing all the recruitments by way of the directors. Alfred, I approached the labor courts as lawyer for them. After 2-3 years, the court said the process did not comply with whatever and set aside the entire recruitment that was done. We felt our hope would be the court. We felt, having been appointed as directors, the only basis on which our appointment could be taken away is on the basis of just cause. As you know.
Yes, in the Constitution.
Just cause. We went to the High Court. I was the lawyer. I cross-examined the witnesses of the government there. At the end, the court said, nothing untoward has happened. It didn't end there. Again, I was lawyer for Dr. Anaba, now MP for Garu, who had been properly recruited as the director of Rich Hospital. I was his lawyer. The Minister of Health then, Kweku Ajiman Menu. One morning wrote a letter to him that he should go back to UDS, where he was a lecturer. He said, go back to UDS to do what? Because I went through recruitment interviews and everything and got this job. So on what basis should I go back to UDS? Again, as lawyer for him, I went to the Human Rights Court. After 2 years of trial, the judge said the minister reserved the right to do this.
That's what the judge said?
Yes. Okay. I have the judgments. I said I was the lawyer on record. I went through all the processes. The judge said, in fact, may he so rest in peace. He was in Human Rights Court
Anthony Yeboah.
Anthony Yeboah. He said the minister has the right to ask him to go back. We said, look, we have moved on from UDS. We have taken on a new role. We went through ABCD procedures to get to this point. They just said, and at that time, it was a normal thing. I recall, look, how at that time, our friends in the NPP said, oh, we were just making noise. We don't know our left from right. I remember always telling them that tomorrow is pregnant.
Yeah, you've consistently said it.
Yes, that tomorrow is pregnant. Look, I have an elderly person who many years ago told me something. He said, time is not a friend of man. Time is not the friend of man. Look, I just want to read something. I think one of my very good friends, Asifwa.
Well, in fact, there's a number of lawyers from the MPP who have asked persons who have been affected by this directive.
Let me just read this.
To come to them. They're also going to go to court.
This is December. This is a post by my friend, Vincent Eko Asifwa. And my relationship with Vincent is quite long because you were then the National Service Union president or so. And so there was an issue where there was a court case, and I got involved around 2015, thereabout. And this is what he said on his Facebook page, December 14, 2016, by which time the NDC has lost the election. And he says, quote, our attention, he labels it, wobbling appointment at National Service. Our attention has been drawn to some dying day sinister engagements of the Executive Director of National Service, the acting director, who is also alleged to have been meddled in financial blah, 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 is on appointment spree at the Secretariat. Most of these new appointments to district and regional director positions are being thrown at loyalists of the NDC in warring faction. While the common practice has been to engage the Public Service Commission in making this new appointment, it can be confirmed that the acting director disregarded part of this, which blah, blah, blah. Again, the position being filled were not properly advertised as prescribed by legal standards, among other things. On the basis of this, immediately the president was sworn in on the January 7, 2017. Barely a month, they issued the directive saying that all the recruitment as directors, regional directors made prior to or even after the election of December 7, 2016, should be withdrawn. And the letter from the Honorable Yusuf withdrawing the appointments made are matters of public record. And I'm saying that even when these things happen, we felt we could have consolation in the courts. After 2 years of legal battle or whatever, we were calmly told that whatever happened is normal. It didn't end there. So that I'll conclude on this. It didn't end there. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo then appointed Nana Yaw Osafo as senior minister. So he went for vetting as senior minister. And at the vetting, the NDC MPs on the appointment committee at that time asked him, what is government policy position on the recent recruitment? He was authoritative and categorical that the withdrawal of those appointments, there was nothing untoward about it. That is Nana Yaw Osafo. I have heard the likes of Nana B and co saying that, oh, Osafo said it, but they never implemented it. I mean, sometimes just pretend that the people you are speaking to are intelligent enough. Maybe on this table, we can all agree that going forward, in the Transition Act, it should also be amended to include the fact that maybe 3 months, 2 months, or a month into the election, such recruitment should be until a new president comes. But that level of hypocrisy, I think we should all be mindful about it. Look, I remember again the Shraj boss, Joseph Whittal.
Yes.
If you recall, President Mahama had just appointed him,
but
with Domelevo.
With Domelevo. Look, I say this on record.
NCC boss, the lady.
Yes, I say this for the record. Josephine
Nkrumah.
I say this for the record. What happened was that when he was appointed, my own senior, Egbert Faber, was the lawyer for the plaintiff at the Supreme Court. At that time, our firm represented Joseph Whittal in the Supreme Court action. So it is not like these things were not challenged. They were. Whatever informed the decision subsequently to withdraw the suit, I don't know. But these matters were challenged.
But that has been referenced that to the extent that these last-minute appointments by John Mahama at the time were not revoked by...
No. It is not the case that they were not. They were challenges. They went to court. There were some that were challenged.
But then, as you indicated, the suit was abandoned at some point.
Why it was abandoned, I don't know. But the record will show that it was challenged.
They stayed in office.
Well, that's also... No, but you see, if you look at it carefully, it is those appointed to the constitutionally mandated bodies, the commissions. The commissions. The commissions. But those other agency appointments, they were all, in fact, messed up. Particularly those that were done immediately after H.E. John Dramani Mahama lost the 2016 election. And the matter is of public record. I say I represented some of the people. So today I hear suddenly our friend says, no, the rule should change. Why should the rule change? Is it because you are now in opposition? You see, we should all be careful. We are building a democracy. Today it is MPP, tomorrow it is NDC. So we can set the rule. In fact, the game is being played between the two of us. So we can set the rules and say that going forward. Why? In the US, the Democrats and Republicans have been doing this for 240-something years. They have set the rules that A, B, C, D should be the benchmark. Even with that, President Trump is all over the place doing his own thing. So let us all have that. If these are the rules, we'll play by the rules. But our friends in the MPP believe that they can break the rules. But you cannot.
But
it doesn't augur well with our forward march.
It is how, for many who are looking at this, to the extent that you agree that certainly something wrong happened then, you challenge them in court. I have seen a number of MPP lawyers as well, and some members of parliament, Vincent Issafuah, that you reference, he has also written publicly that all the persons who are affected by this directive from the Chief of Staff in having the appointments terminated as the near end of term appointments made by the then Akufo-Addo administration should make themselves available. They are also going to challenge this in court, as you did in 2017.
You see,
so this is what is repeating itself. To the extent that these persons are affected, the persons who are appointed are affected. How do we address this so that it doesn't become this vicious cycle? You do it, as you indicated, it's between you and MPP. You do it, when they come, they also do it. This keeps repeating itself. And you say a legislation has to be put in place.
You see,
so as to stop this. That's forward-looking, isn't it?
I strongly believe, like I pointed out, that law is what restrains the conduct of men. But for law, ours will not be different from what happens in the jungle. Law is a restraining tool. It's a social engineering mechanism.
Yeah.
So if we all come to the conclusion that in most instances, persons affected are not necessarily associates of the two parties, they are Ghanaian for whatever is worth, then we can all say that on the table, that, okay, we have a parliament. Today, parliament will legislate. In the process of passing the law, let's see who will say, no, I don't agree that this practice or whatever. But as it stands now, there's nothing untoward. Like I said, even the courts have said there was nothing untoward. As somebody will say, who am I? Who am I? So we can decide that, okay, let's take a forward-looking approach, which approach will entail, as it were, getting these matters off getting these matters off the record and ensure that going forward, once these appointments are made, until you are able to show that there is a justifiable basis. Look, and I'll conclude on this. I remember when Charlotte Osei was appointed, Counsel, now lawyer, Richard Delasky, went to the Apex court. At that time, guess who his lawyer was? My learned senior Afenyo Makin, to challenge the appointment of Madame Charlotte Osei as commissioner of EC commissioner or chairperson of the Electoral Commission. Guess what? When these matters went to court, the argument was pretty simple. I've always said, the very reason for the removal of Madame Charlotte Osei was just what couldn't happen in the courts. They just found a way to do it eventually.
Okay.
So let's be clear in our minds. And let our friends in the NPP not for a minute think that with the greatest respect, they alone have the capacity to do what they consider necessary. No. Okay. That one, they should never deceive themselves into that thinking. No.
Let me bring in Merida on this. Because there's been that proposal now by Edoji, at least accepting the fact that something is wrong about all of this, that there has to be a legislation to address this or to stop this.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong. What I'm saying is that if we become to the point that we believe that there is something wrong with it, then let's cure it by legislation.
Okay.
For the record.
Let me also welcome private legal practitioner and convener for Democracy Hub, Oliver Bakavoma. Good morning.
Good morning. I hope you're doing well. Thank you.
Great. Mary, a quick one on this. We need to. Yes.
So I will be very short, very brief on this one. Let me say good morning to your cherished viewers as well and to the panelists here. It's really unfortunate the way democracy is evolving, and it's like we are not learning anything at all from our mistakes. In life, let me give an example. If you do something and it doesn't work well for you, the ordinary thing anyone would do or initiate is the fact that they will try to remedy the situation to ensure that going forward we do not repeat such mistakes. Societies, laws are made to regulate behavior, that is true. But when we identify that there are gaps in those laws, we need to work quickly to ensure that we are addressing those gaps. This, we've been practicing democracy, the fourth Republican one, for the past 30 plus years now. And so if we had issues, Eduji has indicated, we asked, at a point we decided to have a transition legislation. Fortunately for us, it's worked. But then now we have identified that there are critical challenges with some of the things that happen, particularly when it comes to the recruitment of persons into critical and sometimes not critical positions. How do we cure this? For me, I believe that's the case. Number one, we know there are illegalities that happen. But then we say governments continue till the very last day they hand over, so they can do a lot of different things. However, we also know that some things are ethically wrong. But ethics are not law. So let's put closure to this matter and let's see what the politicians have to say. So for us, the propositions would be that, number one, let's legislate. That some critical areas that would portend for arguments and also discord going forward should not be done. And so if you lose elections, for me, I believe that there are certain things you shouldn't do. And why do we say so? You shouldn't do them because you had all the time at your disposal to have done them. You had 4 years within your tenure to make recruitments. You had 4 years within your tenure to know that there were gaps in the system which needed to be filled. So why do you wait until you know that you are not going to superintend over the affairs of state before you then decide that, no, we need to fill in people? We are a people who have seen a lot of these things, and we believe that going forward we shouldn't allow them to happen. For me, I think this is the right time to ensure that we put in place a legislation. We cannot totally say that when you lose an election, you should not continue to govern, but we can put in place some mechanisms to ensure that people do not do the things they do. And let me say that as it happens within the mandate of the constitutionally mandated bodies, we saw an appointment in 2016 of the Commissioner of Shraj and also of NCC and others. Some were challenged. How do we make it in such a way that some people cannot do the things they do going forward? You know, in other dispensations, immediately governments are defeated. They do not even wait for others to even tell them to leave office before they leave. We have an example in America which is happening. Sometimes I wonder if they have grown as in their democracy as we have in these 30 years. Because most people are booted out as well, but they know that they don't even wait for anybody to tell them to leave. So for me, I believe that we should make this law in such a way that people know you do not have to wait. I support the rightists, I support the leftists, and so they are no more there. The person who appointed me is not there. So you need to give way some of the times to allow people to work. But my challenge is with the bureaucracy. These are professionals who are engaged to do their work. Immediately we tamper with this, then we are politicizing the bureaucracy and making the processes of policy implementation very difficult for us. We cannot afford to continue in the trajectory we are going, making the bureaucracy an NDC and MPP bureaucracy. Let's ensure that we separate those and let's move on as a society. For me, I think it's high time we change the situation. Let's have it clearly spelled out, and let's not have this confusion where when the tables change, people think it is wrong, and when it suits them, they believe it's the right thing to do.
I see. People, legislation will cure this going forward, because as Lady Tamaklo referenced, clearly, there has to be a cure if we are going forward in finding a solution to this. That's the same as Mary has referenced as well. And the concern is how these persons, as Mary indicated, a government has 4 years. But then again, at the end of its term, pausing the numbers. Eduji, we are hearing 500 in some of the institutions, 800 in some of the institutions as well. Quite staggering. Then you take a decision that, look, these near-end term recruitments cannot hold, because there was a conversation and an agreement as was put out in this statement of the Joint Transitional Team. The other side said that never happened. What has to be done going forward? Council?
Yeah, okay. So let's do this. To be clear, I doubt the efficiency of law, okay, or the efficacy in solving this problem. The reason I say so is that, you see, for law, look, you always have issues of expression. So you may express the law this in a certain form today, that, once there have been appointments, so number one, you say you want to prohibit appointments to certain offices within a certain time frame to the change in government. So let's say, from what people are saying, 6 months to the end of an administration, you want to say that there will be no more appointments. But you will find human ingenuity, right, will go around this. Yeah, there are, I mean, we've had experiences. You will find human ingenuity going around laws. I mean, that's the whole exercise. Lawyers can look at it, they look at the provision and find ways to go around it. So I think what we should rather focus on is that change of mindset. Yes, like what President Mahama says, resetting Ghana. We need that change of mindset. If you don't do a change of mindset, listen, people will find ways around the law. It didn't start today. You remember in our past, Apollo 568, when Buzia came, he sacked a lot of people. He went to court. And then when the Salah's case went to court and Salah won, Buzia came out to say that no court can compel him to work with somebody, okay? He cannot be compelled, etc. Fast forward, when Kufuor was leaving office in 2008, you know, he signed for the implementation of the single spine salary structure. And that put huge pressure on Atta Mills. It was a big problem. For me, I see it as the same thing, because he had increased salaries at a time when he was exiting. It was such a big problem. We debated it for months. So the new Atta Mills administration suffered and had to take several months to be able to, possibly years, to be able to adjust, right? So, and then fast forward again, when Akufo-Addo came in 2017, that was the same way. They sacked lots of people from various agencies. Even one of the headlines have it that Akufo-Addo sacks 13,000 public servants. Okay? So the thing is that you can't just think that law alone is sufficient to solve this problem. No. Maybe at best you're going to do an eclectic approach. After renewing our minds, then we can also have the law. But if we are just to write a law, prohibit people from appointing 6 months to, how are you even going to get it? Are you going to get consensus? That's the first thing. Are you going to get consensus to pass such a law? And if you're going to get that consensus, it's not going to be overnight. Because even those in opposition know that no matter how long it takes, they will come into government someday. Yes, they will come. I remember when NPP won in 2016. The thing was that, oh, by the time NDC comes, it will be 40 years. That was the popular saying that, oh, no, this way, it will take too long. It will take 40 years for NDC to return. Just 8 years, NDC is back. So I think that we should continue the conversations, and let's not belittle these conversations we are having. They pile up over a period, and then they result in a change. I like to always refer to our most popular example. Now, GM is doing 60 ministers. There's a conversation that started over 20 years ago. Yet today he had to implement 60. Because, you know, Baumia even promised 50. Of course, with hindsight, we're seeing that it's creating a lot of rigidities. Yes, it's giving us headache. But, I mean, we'll adjust. We'll adjust. It means that they have to use more of the civil servants and other public servants who are already in the system. In any event, some are even party sympathizers anyway. So we just have to adjust rather than piling on and bringing more ministers, right? Yes. So, and then also you look at another new development. You see, Dr. Ayini came to give reasons for the nollie prosequires and
we'll get to that.
So that's also an example of public opinion. The public opinion pushing for change. So let's not think that just going into parliament and passing a law that don't do this will result in change. No. Because people will do it and know that, look, when it goes to court, I mean, they would have marshaled all their arguments and they believe they can win. And we all know that when a matter goes to court, we all know. Let me not go in there. But you see that depending on who is in charge, the decision can be different. Because in law, we have different schools of thought. So if the judge happens to have a school of thought that matches what the plaintiffs, those challenging the decision, have, then it will go their way. If it's of a different mindset, then it goes in the way of the defendant. So let's do all of them. But first and foremost, is what we're already doing now, this matter of challenging it, trying to gather public opinion against it, just like the way public opinion eventually came up to on the fight against Galamsey. Oliver is here, and it's good today he's here. You see, when he first started, people were like, oh no, this will go nowhere. People were against him. The fight against E-Levy, etc. When the Akufo-Addo was misgoverning. But today, Oliver is in this seat because over time, we've seen that when he started, if we had followed him, we would have had a better democracy. But a lot of us were timid. People were even saying, he's instigating a coup d'etat. And people were happy when he was arrested, etc. But look, today, see the groundswell of support for Oliver. So that is it. Let the conversations continue.
Okay.
And they have effect over a period of time.
And that's why I bring him in as well, on this particular issue. It keeps recurring, at least. The immediate reference is what happened in 2017 that Martin Bebo referenced, and the number of persons whose appointments were terminated because of an instance like this, as we are seeing now. So because of this cycle, what has to be done? He believes legislation is not really, well, obviously, you can find a way. It's not a starting point. You can find a way and still get yourself around it, really. So what has to be done to address this situation that keeps recurring? A few minutes on this.
I mean, thank you. I mean, I'm a little disagreed with Martin on the question of legislation. It's the kind of legislation that is being proposed that will not achieve the result we are looking for. Because I don't think that any law passed by Parliament that seeks to restrict the President's authority to appoint public servants is constitutional. Article 195 vests the power exclusively in the President. So, tinkering on executive authority, because you have 6 months left, you're still President. Your term expires on 7th of January for the other year. So, I don't think that it will be constitutional. The way forward then is not a time frame where President cannot act in the full extent of the executive authority, but through the appropriations process. Article 179 gives Parliament the power to determine public expenditure. So authorizing every person to be in the public service, your salary must be accounted for. Your conditions of service must be accounted for through the appropriations process. If Parliament decides then that for this year, that this is the number of people whose salary should be charged on the consolidated fund, then that would be the limit. Any appointments you make outside the scope of what Parliament has authorized would not then fly. So we can solve the same problem otherwise. But I think for me, the bigger question in this back and forth is that also the challenge of using legislation is that you cannot use legislation to cure lack of ethics. There's something inherently bad about this idea of let's offload as much trouble onto the incoming government as we can and then watch them fail. But this is the republic we are building. This is a republic. And so this continuous thing is something that we need to discuss even differently. On the final point, and we need to move on this topic, a lot of the people who are affected, let's be clear, not all of them are party foot soldiers or persons who are trying to push into the public service. A lot of them are also innocent Ghanaians who just need a job. There's a bigger problem here that we need to think about the human cost of some of these back and forth that we do. So many of these people as well are taken advantage of. People are made to pay huge sums of money to then be pushed into their services. These things are things that we need to investigate. We can't make allies of the people we are saying we are sacking themselves to disclose and become public whistleblowers in themselves of the vast amount of money that people are being asked to pay to get jobs in this country. And I'm particularly pain for young people who put themselves in this situation or who are caught up in this web. There's a bigger problem and conversation around this mass recruitment. It is not normal that in a few months to the end of election, thousands of people are recruited and we don't think there is something untoward that needs to be investigated on its own. That's the kind of conversation I want us to be able to expand the conversation into and hold people accountable. There are public servants who are involved, there are public elected officials who are involved, and this is a scheme for them for making money. We need to get at them as well.
And that's another very important issue that comes up on this. And I want to round up this and we'll get into the other matters. Manasseh Azure Awuni, an investigative journalist currently in the United States, is joining us on Zoom right now. Manasseh, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, and thank you, Alfred.
And I do appreciate you staying up to join us. It's a little after 1 a.m. where you are. I think almost approaching 2 a.m., I think. But
yes, it's now 2 a.m.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, just a quick one on this particular cycle and then the proposals that have been made, so to speak, to address this going forward, this termination of appointments, near end of term recruitments that are done. And I make specific reference to that letter on the 17th of December 2024, signed by Phyllis Kwatio Fosu, that this matter came up during the Joint Transition Team's meetings, that this end of term recruitment should not be done. At least that notice was served. But it did not happen. We've seen a number of persons recruited. This is also then affecting those persons as well. How do we address this going forward?
It is difficult to say how we should address this. This shouldn't have been a problem in the first place if we knew the two political parties that take turns to govern this country were doing this recruitment honestly. I can say that a majority of the people recruited are Ghanaians. These are not foreigners. But sometimes the details of the recruitment and the intention behind it becomes a problem. I know of a certain state institution long before this issue came up that someone told me that persons who were brought in there because of their political connections were being put into top and middle management positions ahead of persons who had worked there for quite a long time and more qualified. So they were fixed there just because of their political connections. And there were tensions in the organization even before this issue came up. This is an obvious injustice that someone needed to correct. But I also know, like Former was said, that some of these recruitments started long before the election, and then they got completed at a point. The problem comes with recruiters or state institutions recruiting based on party colors. If the NDC and the MPP knew that these were generally fair recruitments, I think the problem would have been a bit better. They would have been more accommodating of each other's actions. But the reality is different. And what this happens is that genuine or certain people who applied, went through the process, and then got recruited late are in trouble now. I can just imagine the trauma that young persons who get jobs would have to face when they take these letters, they're on their way home, and they have no idea when luck will smile on them again. I think the biggest challenge, or if there's something we have to do, first, let's address the challenge of joblessness. If you went and asked each person who got these jobs if that was what they really wanted to do, you would find many of them doing it just because they have to survive. If there's no sense of desperation, some of these problems would be avoided. But I think for the two political parties, this happens after every election. And the fact that they know it, but they still do it, makes it difficult to want to prescribe solutions. And I think I agree with Mr. Kpebu that laws or a law may not be enough. They should begin to act in good faith so that at the end of the day, we wouldn't have to continue repeating this cycle and putting young people through this trauma. I can not imagine what they are going through with their families and what that means for them for the rest of their lives.
Okay. Council, just a quick last word on this matter before we go. Because of the concerns that have come up.
So concerns are coming up. Now, you see, if you have a situation where, for instance, the Transition Act says that prepare a handing over note 6 months into the election, that handing over note would include your HR status. Now, at the time when you have prepared your handing over note, supposedly 6 months ahead of an election, you are still recruiting. So what exactly have you handed over? You understand? Because part of your handing over note should include the issues of your HR status. So that is very key. Look, I have with me here letters, and you know sometimes it's cleverly done this way. Yes, the person may just decide that, okay, I will not, as it were, revoke the appointment. But where you have been put on probation, I'll stop confirmation. So I remember vividly In a particular letter by Madam Otiko Jaba, I think we had then done, that's before 2016, we have done recruitments into, I think, school feeding program. And this is one of the letters. So I reference one written 15th May 2017, non-confirmation of your appointment. And it reads, we refer to your recent letter of appointment dated November 22nd, 2016, offering you a position of so-so and so, so-so and so, for a probation period of 6 months. We wish to inform you of our inability to continue with your employment after your probation. Signed, Honorable Otiko Afisa Jaba, Minister. And this was even for the issue of school feeding. I'm saying that when you have the likes of Nana or Sapmafu say, we will definitely lay them off quietly. You understand? And he uses the word quietly. So you hear MPP people say, oh, but Osapmafu said it, but we didn't do it. Because they did it what? Quietly. So let nobody gaslight us to create an impression that they are victims. But you see, like Manasseh pointed out, at the end is a Ghanaian who is just basically looking at the opportunity to put food on the table. And so that is why I am saying that if we come to the consensus that maybe the approach is problematic, then we can firm up the legislation. Like Oliver pointed out, it's also possible that last minute people take money to do this. Indeed, there's no evidence. Like we always say, there's no evidence. So it becomes difficult to benefit from the mass recruitment. Look, the current MP for Sagnarigo, Ataisa. Ataisa went through a recruitment process in Bank of Ghana from, I think, May thereabout. You know, the interview, medicals, and all of those things, and eventually got employed into Bank of Ghana. Immediately, Governor Addison came. They said a freeze on the recruitment into BOG, and that they should hold up and they will call them back. He waited for 8 years. So eventually, he became MP for Sagnarigo.
Can you imagine?
Yes. And these are documented. These are documented. So let's be clear in our minds. What do we want to do going forward?
Okay. Thank you. And going forward, that leads us
before,
to...
30 seconds. You remember Dr. Wilberforce Jisa? You were then a GIJ...
GIJ rector. Yes, the GIJ
Go
rector.
and find out the circumstance under which he was removed. Go and find out. Sometimes I say, let's be fair to fellow countrymen. Let's be fair. It's as simple as that.
Well, there are many. That's 13,000 from police service, JIDA,
even nurses,
VRA,
training,
all over.
Health training institutions. Persons that were appointed between 2016, they were all asked to go home. And they stayed till date. So, you see, I just don't want our friends in the MPP to believe that they are better placed than others. So they can do to you, but you cannot do it to them. That sense of entitlement, I'm not comfortable with it. It's not even good for nation building. Then it creates an impression that, others are better than the others. Some are first class, others are second class. We should not get there. We should not. It's unfortunate.
Right. Thank you. And that leads us to the next issue this morning. And within the week, the special prosecutor addressed the press on two issues. One, in the current position that, in fact, the former occupant of Lawyer Edwige Tamaklo's current portfolio was on the radar of the special prosecutor this week. And also the former finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. This is the declaration of the special prosecutor this week on Ken Ofori-Atta. Take a look.
I'm convinced that the purported medical letter transmitted by Mr. Ofori-Atta through his lawyers to the OSP represents a medical report to the effect that Mr. Ofori-Atta is incapacitated or is so sickly and invalid to the extent that he is physically unable to return to the jurisdiction without imperiling his life. The OSP declares Kenneth Nanaya Oforiatta a wanted person. He is a fugitive from justice. The OSP will take all necessary legal steps to secure his return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP. And this is to Mr. Oforiatta. You have two choices. You can either return to the jurisdiction voluntarily or the OSP will enforce your return. Mr. Oforiatta, the OSP did not raid your house on Tuesday, 11 February 2025. Our intelligence points us to state that the purported raid on Mr. Oforiatta's residence was staged, or at best, an imposter action in an attempt to court disfavor for the OSP and to derail the investigation.
Well, that's the special prosecutor there. And these are the cases that he, in fact, referenced in respect to Ken Oforiatta, the former finance minister. This conversation is going to be in two parts. That last part, it talks about the raid and his opinion on it, which turns out to be misplaced or uninformed, for the lack of a better expression. The National Cathedral expenditure, that's one case that the special prosecutor references against Ken Oforiatta. A total of $58 million spent on the National Cathedral project. Not much to show for it, despite widespread public criticism. And also the board members' allowances they received over 31 months. That's an issue that the special prosecutor referenced. The next case, the $108 million ambulance scandal for $34.9 million was allocated for the spare parts for 307 ambulances. And you call this is something that we've been having conversation on continuously here on Key Point. Lawyer Digita Maklo, some located to Ablakwa have been on this particular one consistently. We've all seen how this played out. The next matter, the ECG Beijing Yangcheng technology contract. And this, the fundamental concern in there was how this was abruptly terminated under unexplained circumstances, at least as we speak, raising some matters of transparency as to what exactly led to that termination. And SML, the GRA SML monitoring deal. And that's one of the reasons why we have the man who led the team at the Fourth Estate to do this investigation on the SML, Manasseh Azurawene, with us this morning. The next matter, the final, as well as we see it, and these financial commitments that were made, and also these projected fees under 2023, that 5-year duration of 5.1 billion cedis. These are the issues that the special prosecutor referenced in the case of Ken Oforiatta. I'll start off with you, Mary Ada, on this, because fundamental questions come to the fore as to the OSP's declarations and then also these cases, the timelines of some of these cases. But hearing the OSP this week and what he said specifically about the former finance minister and then also Mustafa Hamid as lawyer Ejudita Maklo's predecessor, how did all of this strike you because of your knowledge of these cases?
Thank you. I believe that the Special Prosecutor's Office is set up to prosecute an agenda, and that is to investigate and prosecute corruption and corruption-related offenses. And this has no timeline, and he is no under any compulsion to rush anything and bring it out. And so the OSP has gone through the issues. I remember when the Fourth Estate did, particularly on the SML issues, they submitted a complaint to him to investigate and also substantiate some of the issues. And so he coming out now perhaps may be an issue for people believing. I've heard some talk about the issues of transitions and he not being too comfortable, perhaps the fear of being removed. I think he has a fixed tenure which is 7 years if you read the law. And so no one is going to, I don't think anybody is thinking about terminating his appointment. The relevance of setting up the office, again, for me, is one that is crucial and we must all pay attention to. And some of us championed it in the beginning. We did a lot of work and made inputs into it. Still remain valid. And that is because Article 88(4), which gives the powers of prosecution to the Attorney General, had been negatively impaired because of the discussion or the argument that the Attorney General is not able to prosecute his own or those in government. Then the constitutional limitation of setting up just in other dispensations, you see that we have an office of Attorney General and then a separate office for the Minister of Justice. So the Minister of Justice can do his political work, but the Attorney General is constitutionally mandated to be the lawyer of states. And until such a time that we have the decoupling of this rule, the validity of the office of the special prosecutor to prosecute that agenda remains valid for me. However, civil society, we've had a lot of issues in the past. We've spoken to them on timing, on how some of the investigations the office is working on have progressed. Let's also remember that these are issues that go to court and they delay. And so we have had a lot of challenges on how the speed with which investigations are done, and also the challenges of how cases have been thrown out. That is the limitation of the law. We need to prove beyond reasonable doubt that people are guilty. And so the OSP has been set up, and now they have the full complements of the office. They have staff, so there is no excuse to say that they are not doing their work. So let's all agree that at this point, the OSP has finished his investigations, and they feel, or they have proof, evidence that the former finance minister and also the other gentleman, Mustafa Hamid, have a case to respond to, and so they are inviting them to come. And in this case, I remember interactions have shown that they have tried within their capacity to get the finance minister to show up. They've taken certain steps to ensure that he complied. However, my challenge is if the issues had already been identified, how did we make him leave the country in the first place? And we are now asking that he comes. But if they have taken the steps which their mandate spells out to get the persons to come, and the lawyers have impeded the process, or the lawyers have indicated that the gentleman is sick and cannot come. Number one, I ask, is there anything wrong with the OSP making arrangements to contact the gentleman there? I believe they can travel on the state's budget to speak with him. Unless, of course, we just want to arrest him. And that as well, I believe, can be done, because under the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, we have a very nice protocol for international cooperation. And the OSP's office has done that before, working on the Cecilia Dapa case, which didn't show much results for all of us, or our expectations were doused in a way. So the issue of international cooperation and also mutual legal assistance come in, where they could have also looked at exploring the possibility of working with Interpol, or striking deal with the international bodies which we have agreements with, and I believe the UK is one of them. So for me, these issues come up, but then the fact that the OSP's job must be done is one that is very clear we cannot go away from. If there is culpability being established, the persons who need to respond must come and then respond to these issues, because that is the essence of the investigations. We cannot just say that all the allegations that are put out there are substantiated. the person must also defend themselves. So we need to see that happen. But the issues remain that we need to all pay attention. In the fight against corruption, we need to be very steadfast. And the commitment to do so, we need to support the institutions, but when there are questions, we need to ask them. And then we also need to ensure that our voices are heard. If we do not get heard, our politicians at any particular moment have issues, they will talk about them. So the voice of civil society and the voice of interested experts in this issue must be very loud. And I am saying that if people have questions to answer, they must answer. Timing is critical. And at this point, the impressions in the minds of people is not too good. But then it is not bad that we are pursuing this. And I believe more are going to come up. And we should not in any way be thinking that because we are out of government, because they are now in government, because I'm saying because we are out, not me, but because the NPP is out of government, people are trying to find a way of witch hunting them. That is not the case. Fighting corruption, both within regime and post-regime, is critical, and we need to persecute this agenda. So if people are perceived to be witch-hunted, I believe that if there are witches, certainly we must hunt them and do so very vigorously to get the results.
Anointing oil.
Because the agenda for fighting corruption must be prosecuted. And this president has signaled through oral and through, I hear he even mentioned the one for government, which would be Operation Prevent. Exactly. I heard
Professor
Opal. I heard him during the receipt of the complaints from the oral committee. And so if the president has said so, our difficulty in the past has been more rhetoric than action. And so we want to see action. And so if action has started, we shouldn't take it lightly. We need to continue to push to see more of that happen.
Important point. You made the security of tenure matter is something that's come up, and especially because of these cases that he is referenced in the case of Ken Ofori-Atta, the period within which these cases occurred, and why this is happening now, and then also whether or not some declarations he made are within the right frame. But let's hear on the matter of Mustafa Hamid, because I want Lawyer Didi Tamaklo to quickly tell us a bit more detail on it, because for him, that case that he's been accused of, there wasn't much detail given by the special prosecutor, but this is what he said. Take a look.
OSP has also commenced investigation into suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses in respect of the operations of the Minerals Income Investment Fund, MIF, especially regarding payments made in respect of Ejapa Royalties Limited. The OSP has also commenced investigation into suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses in respect of an alleged embezzlement of 1.3 billion cedis from the Unified Petroleum Pricing Fund, UPPF, at the National Petroleum Authority, NPA.
This is why Mustafa Hamid, the former CEO of NPA, is on the wanted list of the special prosecutor. He has indicated that he is, as of the time of this press conference, yet to receive any formal invitation or notification. He's ready to assist in investigations. But, Lawyer Tamaklo, since assuming office, what have you gotten with respect to this particular 1.3 billion UPPF money that is being referenced? Just a quick one on it, and we'll take it away and come back to Ken Ofori-Atta.
So the lawyer in me tells me that you hasten slowly in this kind of conversation. I make this point because I have barely been in the office for 2 weeks now. I've taken various records and perusing it. It does appear from the conversation from the special prosecutor that this investigation even started before I got to the office. If my reasoning, based on what he's saying, is correct. So what I would do at this point is that I'll permit the SP to continue with the investigation and not make any comment for the time being that may be considered prejudicial. because some of these correspondences will be coming to me. And it is only right that you give people the benefit of a fair hearing. You understand? The benefit of a fair hearing, so that it doesn't come across that you have already formed your views about what happened. So under the circumstance, who knows? Maybe where I am, the SP may even want to invite me to give some statement. Yes. So I do not want to go ahead of myself. It reminds me of an interesting instance. You know, in the Dr. Opuni,
yes,
one of the first prosecution witness, when the matter was first investigated by Yoko, he gave a statement to Yoko, basically denying any involvement in it. Then subsequently, it was taken over by the police CID. Now he began changing his map because he became a the prosecution witness now. So eventually, we went for the statement that he gave to Yoko as defense attorneys to now confront him under cross-examination. I don't want to be put in that situation. So for now, I wouldn't go so much into it. Right. The SP says they are investigating the matter. I'll leave him to exercise his statutory powers of investigation. Whatever the outcome of the investigation will be, I strongly believe that it will be put before the public.
Thank you. And that's it on the Mustafa Ahmed matter. But this is why the special prosecutor is of the view and has concluded that Ken Ofori-Atta is a fugitive of justice, which the minority and, in fact, the MPP are saying that they do not agree with it because he has not been formally charged. But this is it.
Is unconvinced that the purported medical letter transmitted by Mr. Ofori-Atta through his lawyers to the OSP represents a medical report to the effect that Mr. Ofori-Atta is incapacitated or is so sickly and invalid to the extent that he is physically unable to return to the jurisdiction without imperiling his life. The OSP declares Kenneth Nanaya Ofori-Atta a wanted person. He is a fugitive from justice. The OSP will take all necessary legal steps to secure his return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP. And this is to Mr. Ofori-Atta. You have two choices. You can either return to the jurisdiction voluntarily or the OSP will enforce your return. Mr. Ofori-Atta, the OSP did not raid your house on Tuesday, 11 February 2025. Our intelligence points us to state that the purported raid on Mr. Ofori-Atta's residence was staged, or at best, an imposter action in an attempt to court disfavor for the OSP and to derail the investigation.
That is a special prosecutor, and that letter that he referenced from Ken Ofori-Atta's lawyers communicating that he is out of the jurisdiction, that's what you find on the screen. We have a copy of that letter, and we've called the information out. We are informed by our client, quote, that the letter dated 24th day of January 2025 was left at our client security post for his attention. Our client had been out of the country and therefore not in his home in Ghana at the time. The said letter has been brought to our attention on the instructions of our client, who is still out of Ghana. The said letter is inviting our client to attend in person at your offices on Monday, 10th February 2025 at 10 a.m. We are therefore humbly bringing to your attention that we shall give you notice of his arrival in the country so as to reschedule your invitation to him for the purposes as stated in the heading of your letter under reference. We are, however, able and willing to provide you with any information you may require to aid in your investigation until our client is back in the country for any in-person investigation outlined in the said letter. Now, the OSP says they don't agree entirely with the details of this letter. They do not want to deal with the lawyers of Ken Ofori-Atta. They want him in person. In fact, they don't even place so much belief and truth in the details and reasons given in this letter. Amatipebu, bring you in on this. This is a matter and the issues as outlined by the OSP that you have followed as well. Has he done right in especially getting into these issues at this time and the verdict given? Counsel.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Ocansey, I've said it in various interviews when the OSP did a press conference, that I have a challenge with the timing. Yes, the timing of this declaration of Ofori-Atta as a wanted person. We will come to the issue of the propriety of it. Some have raised issues that once he had written to the chief of staff before leaving, we should not lightly agree that he can be declared wanted, right? Others who are saying we should look at the Extradition Act. But unfortunately, when we go to look at the definition of a fugitive in the Extradition Act, you see it referring to somebody, the person in Ghana, that declaration, a person running away from law that has been accused of a crime, etc., and the person is in Ghana. But now that Ofori-Atta is not in Ghana, I wonder if we can use the the Extradition Act as the appropriate definition of a fugitive. Okay, but let's go to the substantive matter. For me, what I consider the substantive matter is the timing. Sorry, the timing. The thing is that, Ofori-Atta has been around for all these years. Look at the issues. You mentioned National Cathedral.
So, yeah.
National Cathedral started in 2017. Kissie Jabin took office in 2021. I think it must be somewhere around September or something. But Kissie Jabin came into office 2021. So from 2021, presumably, he must have been investigating, right? Because people have been raising hell about that project from day one. Akufo-Addo said it was going to be private sector led. Then before we knew, he gave land. Then James Kwabena Bonfe went to the Supreme Court. Then the Supreme Court held that, well, for land, it's okay. A government can give land and still be secular. Because Kwabena Bonfe was raising issues that, no, Ghana is a secular state, etc. So Ghana cannot get involved in constructing a cathedral, all those things. The Supreme Court looked at it and said, look, you can be a secular state and still give support to religious organizations. So giving land is not a problem. So that one went, we put that aside. But not long after, then Akufo-Addo and Ofori-Atta started pumping in real cash into the project. That also raised a lot of furore. Remember, the NDC did a good job at that. They kept questioning. And even as part of Ofori-Atta's censorship, the hearing, they asked him. And he said the money was taken from the contingency vote. The word vote, like the way we vote at elections, meaning that money reserved for contingency. So the accountants and other good governance practitioners were quick to point out that you cannot use the contingency vote for a huge project like that, a project that is to cost over $300 million, right? So fast forward, then the procurement issue started. Then the number of the trustees were resigning, right? Yes, some even later discovered that they were not actually even trustees at the Registrar General. Dark Hayward Mills, etc. They found out that their names were not at the Registrar General. They were just given positions that were not backed by law because they were not on the papers. If you are setting up a guarantee company, you have all these people, they should be there at the Registrar General. They were not. So the point in one sentence is that this is a story, or this is a case that has been around for years. Why? And my understanding is that this invitation to Ofori-Atta to appear is a first. So I'm using the publicly available information. Afenyo Markin on the floor of Parliament said that this is the first time Kissie Jabin is inviting Ofori-Atta on that matter. And that letter is for the 24th of January. That's a letter dated 24th of January.
As I referenced, yes. Yeah, right.
Excellent, yes. So you see that for a matter that has been around for years, when you start looking for a man at a time when he had already written that he's going for medical treatment, then it's difficult to be on the side of the OSP. You know how I have fought Oforiatta. I've fought him. Every time I come here, I have my signature tune is that Oforiatta and Akufo-Addo were just bent on borrowing to make their families rich. That's my famous sentence. We borrow, then Akufo-Addo's family becomes rich through through Oforiatta's data bank. It's a statement I make week in, week out here, right? So I should be one of the very first persons to be extremely excited about getting Oforiatta to justice, right? But in view of the fact that these matters have been around for years and Kissie Ejabin has not been able to invite him and move forward the case, it's difficult at this time to say that I'm on the side of Kissie Ejabin. No, it's not. Look at the SML matter too. The same thing. SML, and it's good Manasseh is on this program. SML Manasseh broke it in December 2023, not 2024. So if you count from December 2023 to January 2025, you are looking at not less than 14 months or thereabout. Yes, so it's more than a year. So why sit on your hands for more than a year and the man announces that he's going for medical treatment? That's the time you say you need him. I mean, and I earlier on even made another point that after the elections, a lot of foot soldiers kept reminding these duty bearers that they should close the borders. I'm just trying to repeat the arguments, though they are a bit too wide, but you can see the wisdom in it. That close the borders because MPP ministers are going to bolt. I hear the National Service they give to Owari. I hear she's also gone.
Well, we're here to confirm that.
Yes, I hear I've seen on some platform, Adam Bonner's platform, alert with Adam Bonner.
That we don't know that independently, but we'll check. Okay. We can't confirm that for now.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So other people. So what I'm saying is that even foot soldiers saw that this thing would come, where some people may travel under questionable circumstances, etc. So they started saying that, hey, close the borders. I'm not saying that literally I agree that they should close the borders, but you could get some wisdom in what they were saying, meaning that begin to take steps to forestall a situation where when you need somebody to come answer, when you need somebody to hold the person accountable, the person will not be out of this jurisdiction and out of reach. That was the meaning of close the borders, close the borders. Of course, they couldn't have meant that close the borders in such a way that nobody can go out. No. So you see that, as I say, democracy is what? Crowd wisdom. Crowd wisdom. So the people saw it. People, party foot soldiers, you see, yes, they may not, not all of them are that much literate, etc. But they could see it. They could see that, the next thing is that wrongdoers would bolt. But Kissie Ejabin was around all this while. And so for me, as I've stated, based on all these facts, it's difficult to agree with his reasons for declaring Oforiatta wanted. I side with Madam Meriada that Kissie Ejabin should rather travel out to the U.S., the Mayo Clinic, the address given, and look for Oforiatta there.
You should travel there and look for him.
Oh, absolutely. He's done that in the past. My understanding is that when he was doing the Airbus investigation, he went to the UK. Right?
Yeah.
Etc. Even if he's never done it, we can always do. So that we don't do it in such a manner that it will be taken that, oh, it's a political witch hunt. Because once Oforiatta's letter predates Kissie Ejabin's request to have him come and answer, I think we should tread cautiously. Investigate the bona fides of the medical claims. Yes, it's when you go into it and you see that, no, there is a ruse, he's not really sick, etc. Then we can be on your side, Kissie Ejabin. But for now, to the extent that Oforiatta wrote to the Chief of Staff earlier, I understand 22nd of January. Mr. Ocansey, did you show that one too?
Yes.
22nd. And then Kissie Ejabin's letter comes on the 24th. It's difficult to just jump on the bandwagon that, yes, go for him. No. Let's tread cautiously. I referenced how J.B. Danquah died. We all know that Kwame Nkrumah did well. He's about the best president, okay? But we also know that the death of J.B. Danquah did not clothe Kwame Nkrumah in glory. Even J.B. Dankwa, whilst he was sick in prison, he wrote to Parliament. Parliament declined and said they have nothing to do with it, etc. So once Ofori-Atta is saying he's not well, he's going for medical treatment, let's learn from our history and see how to accommodate him. In any event, he was here for years. And that's why I told you earlier on that his office itself, we need to specialize in scrutinizing the office of special prosecutor. I think we've been giving too much support and not scrutinizing that office. Earlier on, Martin Amidu wrote an article where he said there was a lot of corruption going on there. Yes, Martin Amidu himself, there was an article we referenced here. You see, and then fast forward, if you look at the slow pace at which this investigation was done, it just lends credence to the fact that he was playing slow. I mean, because...
And it couldn't be that, as you indicated some time ago on this platform, that you get the sense that the Kufuor administration was oppressing Kissi Agyabeng in silence. And so now he has a air of freedom to be doing what he is doing now.
Yes, so I'm coming to that. So yes, I have said it. That was another factor. The Kufuor was interfering and oppressing him, etc. But for me, the thing is that would not stop him from investigating this matter, because based on public opinion, once again, the pressure, Kufuor was compelled to appoint KPMG to go into the SML matter. And KPMG's report is out. So I don't see how KPMG could do an investigation, but Kissi Agyabeng couldn't do an investigation on the SML matter. And for National Cathedral, the facts are out here. So for facts that are publicly available, those ones, I really am struggling to see the extent to which Kufuor could frustrate those investigations. It's usually the ones that don't get public traction, the ones that have not gotten public attention. Those are easier to influence. But the ones that are out openly, National Cathedral, SML, and when it comes to ECG, we all know that ECG, was being used as a fund, right? That Bawumia, who superintends over ECG, was just using ECG to get funding for his campaign.
That we can also...
but the PwC report is out. 3.5 billion could not be accounted. It was under-declared.
Yes,
remember I said it earlier on that
you have said
the cash waterfall mechanism, but Bawumia was manipulating the MD. They were making money.
That's what I was saying. We can independently
Yes, so the
that.
report is out. Yes. It says that, why? You set up a cash waterfall mechanism, and yet the MD Dubik, Mahama, was under-declaring. What were they doing? When they asked him, he said, under-declaration is not a crime. He will come and answer how under-declaration is not a crime. So I say, when you put all this together, and it was just common, there were stories out there in the public accusing Bawumia of being behind the Haptel contract where they were fleecing ECG, etc. So for me, the thing is that these stories, so out of the four you've mentioned, for matters concerning ECG, National Cathedral, SML, I think to the extent that they were largely in the public domain, the influence of Kufuor couldn't be that much, because the public was out there. And besides, I didn't say that, yes, I support Kissi. I've largely supported him, except the matter of the Edubuahin matter, the undue influence, where he freed Edubuahin so that Bawumia could also be freed. That's a matter we'll contest in court. Yes, that matter is not done. We'll contest it.
You contest it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we already have 2 cases in court. So sometimes you don't want to have too many. This SML, we've sued Manasseh Azuri's Media Foundation for West Africa, ASEP, Bemwachi led the CDD, etc. We are in court. We've done a civil suit trying to say because of the procurement breaches and also most especially no work done, the money should be refunded to the state, right? We've sued. So, and this is the other matter too. So we have these 2 lawsuits. So when you have 2 cases in court, you are wondering whether you should see through those 2 before you come to the undue influence matter, the matter involving Edubuahin and Bawumia, right? Yes, so based on all of this, this particular one, maybe Kissi should have consulted widely beyond his OSP office, because timing
You're saying he could have stopped Ofori-Atta at the airport, for instance?
Yeah, initially, yes. You see, when I said, so you don't wait for that day.
Okay.
Yes, but they could, there's a stop list. That argument, I made it earlier on, all on the basis that, but if we're looking for the man, knowing the surveillance, etc. You know, you would ask national security to help you with surveillance and all that. They could have used a stop list. But that was the initial argument. You know, when a story breaks, you know, we make arguments, later we reflect. Yes, so I said that at the beginning, that I just felt like he had more tools available that could have been stopped to Furiata if he wanted. But subsequently, my stronger argument is that, and even within the same interview, as I was, it was 12 o'clock news on the same day he did the interview, I was talking to TV3. Then I remembered, as I said, the foot soldiers haven't given a warning that people will abscond, etc. So I expected that Kisi would have expedited action. And I say I expect that he would have expedited action because, you know, in September 2023, he started recruiting, he was giving clearance to recruit about 230. So I always say that even 50 declined. He had at least 180 personnel, right? And so that's a lot. Why didn't you put people on these cases? Morning, afternoon, evening, eat, sleep, drink, those cases. You would have gone far. Yes, I mean, I appreciate that some investigations can be complex, etc. Yes, but it doesn't look like this SML matter, especially a national cathedral. Yes, we know complex ones, or we know the popular one. You know, Sepp Blatter, before the FBI got him, it was years, the FIFA scandal, years. But these ones don't fall into that category because a lot of the facts are publicly available. Even Shrike did its investigations and saw there were procurement breaches. KPMG did. KPMG's report came sometime in April last, this in 2024. So these cases are not rocket science to say that investigations take years.
Well, and Council, let me do this quickly. I've been joined on Zoom by Sami Darko. He's the Director of Strategy, Research and Communications at the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Zadako, good morning. Welcome to Key Point. Hello, Sami, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning, Alfred. Thank you very much.
Great. And can you put your video on because we cannot see you, unless that's the preference you want to go with?
Yes, there's a bit of a challenge here.
I can hardly hear you.
There's a bit of a challenge here. That's why I'm unable to turn on my video. But if you can hear me, then we can proceed.
Okay. Well, we can hear you, actually. So, first off, now, were you informed of this letter that Ken Ofori-Atta, through his lawyers, wrote to the Chief of Staff as of the 22nd of January about he going on outside of the country for some medical checkup?
Alfred, thank you very much. First of all, let me say that the issue has nothing to do with whether Mr. Ofori-Atta informed the previous Chief of Staff of a planned trip to abroad or informed the current Chief of Staff of a plan to abroad. That has nothing to do with law enforcement. It has everything to do with maybe courtesies and other things that you need. When a law enforcement agency is done with its investigation and it demands your presence, there are reasons why they may agree with you to postpone when you have to appear before them. One of the reasons being that you are so sick, you are bedridden, or where you are, it's practically not possible to return to the jurisdiction. This is one of the reasons why arguments about why didn't you stop Ofori-Atta from traveling, what you have delayed doesn't hold any water. Every Ghanaian is free to go in and out of this country until your presence is needed. When your presence is needed, you ought to show up. The OSP, as has been said, has been able to interview people via Zoom, have been able to speak to people outside, and these were largely persons of interest. There's a difference between a person of interest and a suspect. And in some instances, the OSP has interviewed some people also outside this jurisdiction. purely also because they were citizens of another country. That country was unwilling to deport them to Ghana. I do not want to go into matters of international cooperation, but there have been huge challenges where a country is also of the opinion that the citizen has not committed any offense and is unwilling to release that citizen. In that instance, for things to move on, if they guarantee that you can now come to their country and do something like that, you can go. Mind you, you can't just go into another country and start doing your investigations in that country. No, you'll be breaching international laws. There are processes you have to follow. Again, Mr. Oforiatta, or neither him nor his lawyers, have brought any option as to say, like I said, an option that says that, okay, we need you to come to this place and maybe talk to us. I'm just saying an option. It doesn't mean that we may accept or we may not accept. The point we have made is that it is not about the frequency of correspondence between us and Mr. Oforiatta. It's not about that. It's about whether Mr. Oforiatta is willing to come down to the jurisdiction or that he perceived the invitation to come to Ghana as something that will inconvenience him.
Well,
that is why.
But the issue raised here is that once his letter predates that invitation that you sent to him 2 days after, your conclusion that, and I'm reading specifically from the statement that Kessie Jabing read this week, that the OSP is unconvinced that the purported medical letter transmitted by Mr. Oforiatta through his lawyers to you, the Office of Special Prosecutor, represents a medical report. To that effect, Mr. Oforiatta is incapacitated or is so sickly and invalid to the extent that he is physically unable to return to the jurisdiction without imperiling his life. And you're saying that no serious law enforcement agency would be convinced that the purported medical letter that you got stops it from demanding the physical appearance of Ken Oforiatta before it describes the circumstances. Why that conclusion?
I think it's exactly what I just said. I've said that unless you are telling us that, so your doctor can write a letter to us, but if your doctor does not tell us that your condition is such that you cannot even sit on a plane. For instance, if you sit on a plane to Ghana, you're going to die, or that you cannot even spend 30 minutes on a plane, or you cannot travel. That's what we are saying, that such reasons have not been provided.
I see.
It will just that Mr. Oforiatta is able to travel, but because him coming down to Ghana may inconvenience his already planned medical trip, maybe that's the reason why he doesn't. And we are saying that that is immaterial, because when your presence, and people have said that Mr. Oforiatta was in Ghana and blah, blah. Nobody knows Mr. Oforiatta was in Ghana. You do not know whether he has been going in and out of Ghana for treatment. And it happens all the time. There are people in Ghana here who are standing trial, who are appearing before police, and they still have medical conditions. They appear and they go back to the hospital to treat themselves. There are people here who are arrested and put in cells, and they have even said that they were not getting a medical treatment. Some people are even handcuffed behind by the bed and all that. This is not what anybody is saying. What we are saying is that you need to give us a reasonable grounds as to why you are unable to come down to Ghana. And then the second one is that you either have to also provide us with a tentative date. So for instance, we wrote to you and you said, okay, I'm on a medical leave and that I will be back in April. By the end of April, I'll be back. You still would have been satisfied with that. But if you leave it blank, as if it will rain, it will not rain, it means when I'm done with it, then I will come. When are you done with it? You yourself, you don't know. So if 2027, we wait for 2027, that's to stretch it.
Well, so you wanted that specific detail from his doctor and that letter that we saw as to whether he could even walk or not even be able to get on the plane. I think you've explained that quite extensively. Now, the other matter is that the 4 cases that you referenced in the case of Ken Oforiatta are not new.
I think 5.
Hello?
They are not 4 there.
The 5
Yes,
of
they
them.
are
They are
5.
not. They are not new. And in fact, a number of them, all of them occurred between at least the outcomes of either some ad hoc committee sittings or parliamentary hearings occurred between 2022 and 2024. In the case of, for instance, the National Cathedral, that ad hoc committee started in 2023. We saw how the details of it played out. And it was clear that due process had not been followed. That's number one. The SML, the investigation was conducted in 2023. The KPMG report was released sometime in March 2024. So what prevented you from instituting investigations into these cases earlier than now that Ken Ofori-Atta is out of the country?
Well, everyone is entitled to hold an opinion based on how they are seeing it. Yes, it's true. The cases, some of them, the ECG one dates to 2022 when the official complaint was filed. For instance, none of you knew, and you will say you know. You didn't know we were investigating Ms. Ofori-Atta. And I'm happy a panelist had referenced the fact that it had been said in Parliament that this is the first letter to Ms. Ofori-Atta. Indeed, this will be the first letter. Because at the OSP, our approach is that we will do all the intelligence and all the investigation we need to satisfy ourselves that this person is indeed a suspect. And there is prima facie evidence that he is the key suspect in that case. Investigations take time. In this country, we like touch and go. We like to always speed things up. It doesn't mean that we cannot speed things up, but investigations take their own course. When you are sitting outside, it's just like right now, you're able to conclude that some things have happened and it's so probable that somebody has committed an offense. You go into it and we realize there is no offense. And then it will go against you and you will think that the OSP didn't do a good job and all that. I think that we must allow time. And we are not saying investigations take time as a ruse to say we are not doing our work. We've been alive to our duties since 2022 when the special prosecutor was appointed. He has been alive to his duties and he has gone through every step of the way. So talk about National Cathedral. Strach took this matter up in 2023. They concluded in November 2024. That was a civil investigation, and they issued their report and referred it to us and said that if we thought it was necessary, we should investigate. And we said, we think it's necessary. And so we decided to investigate it. SML, yes, Manasseh petitioned the office in 2023. And Manasseh, as he's aware, has been following this up every time. And we have always also told him what is happening, why we cannot take certain steps, why we are waiting for this, why we are doing this. So let's not sit down and think that the OSP was just sitting down and not doing anything. The fact that you have now seen us saying that Mr. Ofori-Atta should appear before us physically means that we have done something and we're now ready to go. People have said, why do we need his physical presence and that his lawyers could come and answer for us? Unless you are trying to tell us that his lawyers partook in the alleged criminal offense. Are the lawyers the ones going to be arrested? Are the lawyers the ones going to be granted bail? Are the lawyers the ones who are going to take their fingerprints and other things that we need to take? Can the lawyers do that for us? Are the lawyers going to be the ones to write the investigation caution statement? We don't need him to even say anything, but we need that investigation caution statement to start the process. Some people have said he can even be tried in absentia. How do you try someone in absentia when you've not done the basic criminal process to get the person before court? It's only when the person decides not to appear before court and you've done all the other criminal process, then you can do that. So please, let's take our time. The OSP has been investigating a number of things. If at the time the OSP is convinced that it's now time for me to move, that is the time the OSP is going to move. The OSP is not going to prevent somebody from going out of the jurisdiction unless we have reasonable grounds to believe that the person should not go because we need to put the person before a court immediately. But I think that people are entitled to be able to go in and out. And you know, we ought to respect people's privacy. We ought to respect people's right to medical care and all that. We have never tried to subject anybody to any of these things. And the OSP, by now, people should have noticed that they investigate in silence. So as you are aware, you talk about the MPA case. I heard the MPA former boss say that he has never been contacted by the OSP.
Yes, he says he's not been formally invited or informed of this.
But why should the OSP contact him when they are doing the investigation? They will only contact you when your presence is now necessary.
Well, that's what he's saying, that as of the time of this press conference, there had not been any formal invitation to him. That's what he said.
And I understand that, but all I'm trying to use that it means that the OSP has been working. We have been working such that you are not even aware we are investigating you. And that is how it ought to be. Until Professor Frimpong Boateng came out to say that the OSP had interviewed him. And that was 3 months after we had interviewed him. None of you knew that Professor Frimpong Boateng was the subject of the investigation at the OSP. And I'm saying that that is how we operate. When we gather sufficient evidence to come to the conclusion that you are not a part of what you have been accused of, we will say so. The OSP has not shied away from doing investigation under Nana Akufo-Addo. Under Nana Akufo-Addo, the OSP did investigate a cabinet minister. Yes, people have said that they did not like the outcome. But is that the fault of the OSP? The OSP goes into a case and the evidence the OSP gathers points to an offense that is outside the OSP's remit. And we are saying that the OSP should go to court. Let me give you one example of the former special prosecutor, Martin Amidu. He did take Mahama Yariga to court in the ambulance case in Mahama Yariga's constituency. In the end, he filed a charge of tax evasion. If you read the judgment, the reason why the court dismissed the criminal action was on grounds that the OSP lacks jurisdiction to investigate and prosecute tax evasion.
Yes.
So if at that time, Mr. Amidu had referred it to the agency that had the power to do so, that trial may have continued and may have yielded a different outcome. We investigated Madam Cecilia Dapa. We did a thorough work. And we came to the conclusion that the bulk of the evidence we have does not sit with our jurisdiction. It sits with another agency jurisdiction.
The outcome of it...
Please, if I can finish.
Yes.
If I can finish. We send it to that agency. The one who controls the agency gives instructions that do not go into the case. The agency does not go into the case. And yet the OSP, people want to hang the OSP as if it did not do its job.
Well,
we have investigated, we have investigated the current president and interviewed him. You are investigating someone who potentially could become a president. We did that under Nana Akufo-Addo. We have investigated several other people. Sir John, who was a key member of the in that administration.
Yes, I know of all those cases. What I'm saying is that I'm coming. So I just let me. Now, are you saying that because you received the charge report in November in the case of the National Cathedral, you've referenced SML and the period that Manasseh finished it, and you say that you do the investigations in silence? Are you saying that you have much more information beyond what is captured in this charge report on the National Cathedral and beyond what Manasseh put out and the KPMG report on the SML deal? Special prosecutor, you have much more. That's why you are coming out now, or you are dwelling on this, the details of this said reports, which we all know in all these cases are public, which you could have come out and in fact started the investigation and this public declaration much earlier?
I will not be able to discuss what we have. Remember, it's a live case. These matters will end up in court. You do not just give your opponents everything you have.
I mean, if you could speak up a bit for me.
I'm saying that I'm not going to discuss what we have or what we do not have on air. Remember, these cases may end up in court. You do not just give your opponents just everything that you have. But just to let you know that the investigations that went on into SML and the rest, we've been aware of it. We've been aware of it. And there are several other things that we've long been aware of. And we have not just been sitting down, not doing anything. People must appreciate the condition under which this second special prosecutor had to work. He had worked under very difficult circumstances. You are in an office that people are challenging its constitutionality in court, not once, twice. You are in an office that people want to impeach you, not once, twice. You are an office that all people are trying to do is to sabotage it, because people thrive when there is chaos. They thrive when there is misunderstanding. They thrive when they are able to bring political coloration. This is why the OSP was set up, that it pursue cases not for purposes of persecution, but because he has sufficient evidence to send you to court. And I was coming to the Sir John case. We had gone on the Sir John case, and the court had said that because we found out late after Sir John had died, then we could not proceed. We had investigated. We did not do a sharpy job. All I'm trying to say is that people must give the OSP time. The average criminal trial in Ghana is about 3 years. Kissie Jabin took office, and please, if you just allow me this, Kissie Jabin took office.
Quick one.
And a very strange, limited resources and everything. I'm happy Martin had referenced the fact that we got a full complement of staff in 2023. They had to go through 1 year probation. You have to train them and all that. We are resource constrained. There are certain corporations with other agencies. The laws ought to be changed and amended. We need certain quick amendments and all that. All these have not been done. We've been working under very difficult conditions, but we have not given up. Even when we've had a lot of attacks on us, we have still managed to keep our neutrality, our independence, and we have worked on cases. If now is the time for us to go to court, that is the time for us to go to court. Let nobody try to say that because the OSP is going to court, it's because there's change in government and all that. And I've said it, that it has nothing to do with changing in power. You
stated that in the last couple of years, the office has faced all sorts of intimidation and questioning your authority and so on. So that was a problem for you, is it not? That's why you reference it. So it will be right to say that because the office had faced all these tactics of intimidation and questioning your authority, challenging your authority and so on, you couldn't do as much as you were expected to do.
Well, I've not really said you face intimidation. I've said that you are working at Media General and your boss, and then say... No,
Sami, I wouldn't appreciate this example. I just asked the question, but
I just want to be practical. No, no offense to you. I'm just saying that we have worked under very difficult condition, and yet we prove to Ghanaians that we are independent and we are able to deliver. It's a different thing that people may disagree with us. For instance, J.B. Dankwa, the former Minister of State at the Finance, the outcome, people disagree with that. It's fine. It's law. People can look at what you've done and say, you didn't do a good job. Another person to look at it and said, you did a good job. All I'm trying to say is that when you find us come out and say that we are about to do something, it's also not for fanfare.
Right. So I mean, this information from the doctors of Kenneth Ofori-Atta that you say that is not enough, sufficient information for you, because it didn't state categorically whether Kenneth Ofori-Atta is immobile or not. Did you request further information from them to get this information, these answers to the questions that you are asking now?
It's not up to us to ask for those evidence.
It's not up to you to request for further information if you need it?
It's not up to us. No, let me tell you something. That's why it's good to always look at the first letter. I noticed that you just read that of Mr. Ofori-Atta to a letter.
Yes.
When they first wrote us the letter, right? When they first wrote us the letter, they did not even think that they needed to attach a doctor's report. They thought it was okay. It was only when we drew the attention that you cannot just say by word of mouth and say that you, the lawyers, can come and stand in and that your client is there. That's when they went to attach a letter from a doctor. And I'm saying that you are the suspect. You are the suspect. Our duty is to procure your attendance. You must give us reasonable cause, either to hold on, to delay, or to come and forcibly bring you to the premises. sometimes I understand we try to bring too much culture and other things into law. We have been very fair with Mr. Oforiatta. We have been very fair. All we are saying is that he's not been able to convince us that he's unable to attend to us. We find it that he has just decided that I am treating myself. When I finish is when I'll come. You know, nobody is saying that you cannot treat yourself. We are saying that at least you ought to communicate to us a specific timeline, or you ought to give us a sound reason as to why we should hold on even perpetually. So that's the point we are trying to make. We are not trying to.
So if you need him in person, Martin Pebo has recommended this morning that travel there, because you've done it in some instances. Travel to the US, that hospital where he is, and get him to answer the questions that you want him to answer in person, instead of waiting for him to come back at whatever time.
But I think I've answered it. Maybe you did not hear it. I said that the options that they are given, they are options that are available to us. We are law enforcement agents. We know the procedures to do and all that. But I've told you that he's not a person of interest. He's a suspect. We cannot go to US and charge him there. We cannot go to US and be doing investigations there.
But the law allows for trial in absentia, is it not? That is, if you have enough evidence to prosecute him.
But you are talking about trial in absentia. What that means is that we are before a law court. We are not before a law court. We are still at the stage of the police station. We need to complete the processes at the police station. The point I'm making is that all options available to us will be explored. Okay. And when it is necessary for the OSP to travel, the OSP will travel. When it is not necessary, the OSP will not travel. That's all I'm saying. The options are available before us. We are fair and candid. We try not to trample over anybody's rights. And that's why I've said that even when we are investigating you, the time we only bring you is the time when we physically need you. And so that's why somebody had attested that he has not heard that we're investigating him. And rightly so. He doesn't need to know we are investigating him. He doesn't need to know. He needs to know when we are ready to charge him. That he needs to know. Because sometimes people think that we are so used to the old ways of doing things that you are arrested, they take your caution statement, write this, write that, what did you say? And then based on that, they start doing investigation. We are saying that we have moved away from there. We want that when you appear before us, we are pointing to you what we think you have done. And if you have anything to say, if you don't talk, it does not mean that we are not going to go ahead with our work. The right to talk is yours to exercise. You can even come there and say, I'll not say anything. But of course, you need to still sign, you need to take fingerprints, you need to, all those processes. Those who have been to a police station may fairly understand what I'm trying to talk about. Okay. But if you have not, you may not understand what we are saying. We are saying that the OSP has done nothing untoward. The OSP has never delayed an investigation. It's a luckless coincidence that his party is out of power and then the OSP is now ready. People may hold a different opinion. They're entitled to hold that opinion. The OSP has been fair, transparent. The OSP is not a corruption-ridden organization. We have men of integrity. We have taken our men through polygraph tests before they can work. If we find corruption inside the OSP, we will deal with that corruption inside the OSP. People need to support the OSP. We should not allow certain class of people to confuse the issues. Let's not allow people to confuse the issues and bring in political coloration. The OSP is alive to its duties. And I'm very happy that the OSP was also able to state that it did not go to the house of Mr. Oforiatta to do anything there. I don't even want to use the word raid.
Yes, but listening to that particular point, because you see, you went ahead to make that declaration and pass a verdict on it that you didn't go there and you didn't even stop there. You saying that you were not the one who authorized the raid is one thing, but you going ahead to say that it is at best staged or an imposter action in an attempt to court disaffection for the OSP and to derail the investigation, some say was quite out of place, because you don't even know who authorized it, and then you go ahead to pass this verdict. Why is that?
You can even understand that I brought this issue up because I wanted to talk about it. Yes, the point we want to make is that the OSP, and I said that we don't even have to use the word raid. Law enforcement agencies don't raid. They either go under emergency search or they go under regular search with a warrant. Media likes to tag things that, label things that sometimes they may not have enough information on. So there is nothing like raid. A person can be visited by different law enforcement agencies because everyone has their jurisdiction.
Okay.
The point we make and tell Ghanaians is that the OSP did not go to Mr. Foriata's house. And we are very convinced that at the time of putting it on us, through surrogates, family members, and some media people directly linking it to the OSP, they knew the agency that had visited them, and they knew that the agency had come there lawfully. If the agency had not come there lawfully, they know what they should have done. So the point we are making is that
but I mean, if you knew that you knew the agency, well, then why then go ahead to make this statement?
I have not said I knew the agency. I have only told you that they knew the agency.
Okay.
Because until the OSP came out to deny.
Yes. Yes, you denied it, but then again you said it was at best what, to derail your investigation?
Yes, allow me, I'll finish. I told you that I brought this issue up. What I'm saying is that we have said that we did not raid there, and I was only trying to tell you that the people who were in the house, who told the story to certain media personnel, to certain people, and passed it around and said it was OSP. At the time of saying that, they knew the particular security agency that had come to their house. It is only after the OSP had denied it categorically and went on to say that they have staged it or an imposed action, that they then decided that they are going to release those videos and pictures because the OSP has said that it was staged.
I see.
I understand you that the SP could have ended there and just denied it without even talking about what we suspect through intelligence. That I agree with you. I'm not going to say and challenge that, he was justified to have said it. I'm saying that what matters is that law enforcement agencies, one person can have 5 law enforcement agencies looking at different offenses within their jurisdiction. And we shouldn't be quick to call it a raid, because the law enforcement agencies typically will not raid. They will come, and that's why the SP said that if it was the OSP, you would have noticed that it was the OSP, because we usually do search with you there. If you take Madame Dapa, when we took her to her house to do an emergency search, she was there with us. And OSP, when we are doing a search, we film the entire search, because that search is also evidential. We will tender it in court. It is that filming of the search that Madame Dapa and other people construed it to mean that we were going to give it to the media to publish. As we speak, not TV3, not any other media house has the search that was done, the video. Nobody has ever published it. But they made it seem that the OSP had gone there with the entire media in Ghana. Meanwhile, the media personnel already knew Madame Dapa's house. I'm talking about where she has been living for long. And you also know the OSP's office. And you knew we had announced that Madame Dapa had been placed under arrest and we were investigating. We went to over 4 houses or properties of Madame Dapa. We didn't spot any media personnel there. The only place a media personnel was able to film was Madame Dapa's house. Even that, they only filmed the house. Nobody saw Madame Dapa. If somebody can challenge me, whether anybody saw Madame Dapa, you didn't even know whether she was in handcuffs or not, because the cars were tinted and the cars entered her house and not outside. So you see that sometimes there is deliberate effort to paint the OSP as a devil, as a monster who works in a Rambo style. Meanwhile, it is not so. We follow due process. And I'm appealing to Ghanaians that when they hear some of these things, they should be patient and verify, because your OSP is law-abiding.
Okay. Well, Samit Dakon is Director of Strategy, Research and Communication at Special Prosecutor's Office. Now, before I have to get to Manasseh, but really, Sami, quickly, before you go, how many investigators does the Office of Special Prosecutor have?
I can never disclose that to you.
Okay.
Never.
Well, Counsel, you had a number of questions that you asked even before he joined us, and it's provided some answers about the timing and so on, the fact that they are doing silent investigation, you can't get to hear what they are doing and what the way forward is. Mariada has had to leave us, but then that recommendation about traveling and so on to get to Ken Ofori-Atta instead of waiting for him to come, he's answered that as well. But before I come to you, let me bring in lawyer Edijita Maklo on this particular issue, especially because of the position and verdict that the special prosecutor has taken. This is a wanted man. He is a fugitive of justice. And Sami Darko has explained why they come to this conclusion. Counsel.
You see, my point really is, what exactly is the issue? Is it the issue that Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta is under an investigation? Is that a problem? Or the declaration that he is a fugitive or wanted? Which one is the problem?
It's like the declaration.
I mean, like, seriously? What exactly? I mean, once you were interviewing my learned friend Sami, I'm here asking, what exactly is the problem? That Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta is above being declared wanted? Or Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta is above being investigated? What is it? Look, I am telling you, a former president of the Republic, in the person of John Dramani Mahama, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo specifically wrote to the then special prosecutor Martin Amidu to investigate him. Who is Ken Ofori-Atta? Please, who is he? In the overall scheme of affairs, if a former president of the Republic can be investigated on the basis of a petition by Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo himself, I never saw this. I never saw President Kufuor ask Jerry Rawlings to be investigated. I never saw it. I never saw former President Mills, may he so rest in peace, ask that President Kufuor be investigated for whatever. I saw Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo ask his head of communication, Eugene Ahi, to write directly to the special prosecutor there to investigate Mahama and his family. So who the hell is Ken Ofori-Atta in the case? No, please. You see, this morning I've been asking myself, what exactly are the issues? Hold on. Mr. Kissie Jabe has not said Ken Ofori-Atta is guilty. I've not heard that. In fact, he had indicated correspondences between him and his lawyers. The only point of disagreement is whether or not he should recover fully relative to whatever medical treatment he's going through abroad before he can honor the invitation of the special prosecutor without more. For me, that is the only point of disagreement. I am telling you that the special prosecutor went to John Mahama and took statement from him. It happened in this Ghana. Nobody raised any issue. So what exactly are the conversation about? What exactly are the issues? I want to know. Please keep me up to speed. Because I listened to the special prosecutor. He never said Ken is guilty. He said, I want to investigate. If their basis prosecute, I'll proceed from there. If they are not, I'll drop the charges. Why? Were we not in this country that the special prosecutor took a Pontius Pilate approach in the Cecilia Dapa matter and said they should go back to the Yoko? So it has not always been the case that the investigations conducted by the special prosecutor have resulted in a prosecution. So what exactly is the complaint? I want to know this morning. And so once you were interviewing my friend Sami Darko, and he started answering the question, I said, look, so what is the point? If a whole former president could be investigated by a special prosecutor appointed by President Akufo-Addo, how come a former finance minister not be? I mean, where from this? We have had a former finance minister in this republic go to prison. We have had a former deputy finance minister go to prison. We have had a former deputy finance minister prosecuted. I was counsel for the respected, the Honorable Ato Forson, doctor. Do you know what we went through? Look, Ato Forson criminal investigation and subsequent proof was instigated by Ken Ofori-Atta.
Was instigated by
him. Please, look, you
it's
see.
It's on the tape.
Look, let people not take our seeming silence to mean that we don't know what happened. I was involved. With my senior, we took Ato Forson to Yoko. In fact, the first day we got to Yoko, by the time we met the deputy director of Yoko, Nanentwi, it was obvious that it was, excuse my language, a foolish case. Yes. Look, Nanentwi, after he listened to Ato Forson, said, look, go home with the statement. You go and write it and bring it back. He said, go home, take the police statement form, go home, write it and bring it back. I return it. From November 2017, listen carefully. Yeah. November 2017, we never heard anything from the police or Yoko. The current the current executive director of Yoko, Mr. Bashiru, they saw the things that happened. Look, on the 17th of November, 2021, the budget was read with e-levy in it. The then ranking finance, the Honorable Ato Forson, raised issues about the fact that their side was not going to allow for the imposition of e-levy. That was 17th, 19th December when the budget was read. On the 25th of November 2021, I was there when now Speaker sent a letter that Yoko is looking for Ato Forson. Immediately, 5 days after the budget, either 5 or 6 days after the budget was read, and Ato Forson had raised issues about the e-levy. Immediately, they invited him. Look, you see, some of that, look, when I took the Honorable, in fact, so Speaker asked us to come to his conference room. I went there with the Honorable Ato Forson. An investigation that was done for 4 years basically gathered dust from nowhere. They said we should come. When we went there, the investigators came, myself and him. When we went through everything, the investigators simply just said, okay, we'll call you back. Immediately they called me, that they have just been called by the Attorney General's office, that they should take his charge statement because December 22nd, they want to take him to court. Do you know what people have survived in this country? What the hell are we talking about? Look, people have gone through hell under Akufo-Addo and his family members. The manner in which they weaponize investigation and criminal prosecution, never again should we. In fact, they should be lucky that they have a forward-looking president like John Mahama as the president of this republic.
They should be lucky.
Yes. That is a man who appreciates the requirement of due process. If you've committed an offense, so be it. But to use the institutions of state to intimidate his political opponent, John Mahama, with his experience with governors, had gone beyond that. They should be lucky that you have just been invited. Look, and this morning I'm hearing. So the special prosecutor is supposed to know that on January 2nd, Ken Ofori-Atta is traveling. So he can stop him at the airport. How is he supposed to do that? Clairvoyance? How is he supposed to do that? But I'm saying that every citizen of this country has the benefit of due process requirement. That extends to Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta and any other person. So we wake up and the impression is being created that Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta is a special breed. And so he should be treated differently. Look, me, one morning I woke up, I had a call from the then former AG, Marietta. Eduji, where you are saying, I'm preparing to work. Rushed to Dr. Ayene's house. When I got to the house, armed police officers surrounded his house. Why? He wrote the legal opinion in the Ameri transaction. What the hell? So if you wrote an opinion and you want him, just a phone call, courtesy. Mameti Wadodankwa, she was then the CID boss with Regina Tengi or something. The manner in which was like a Gestapo.
Well, he just took us through that experience.
Dr. Kwabena, hold on. Dr. Kwabena Donko.
Yeah.
My own sector minister, John Jinapo, with a 6-year-old child at home, traumatized. Do you have an idea what we've gone through? Why? Jinapo was in this country. If you are investigating me in Ameri or whatever, all you do is a simple courtesy. Deputy Minister, we are investigating this matter. We need you to assist us, either with a statement or something. The Honorable Jinapo is law-abiding. You would have done that. But they decided to come to his house with armed police officers. I see most of the police officers every day. I see
those who came to the house?
Wow. I see them every day. They say, oh, Chief, we were just doing our work. I said, no problem. You just have to... Look, to the point that the Honorable Dr. Ayine, his phone, MacBook, everything was taken. And taken to Crow. So Crow took it to London.
The Cole and
Took
Associates?
his password. Yes. After God knows what investigation, they found nothing. So they called me that I should come back for the phone. My own client, in fact, was equally to the point that they even went to the mother's house, went through ceilings. What were they doing?
Which client are you talking about? In a private case?
To the point, on this same investigation, when the MPP came to power, do you know why? They saw the name of Hawa Mahama in the company document and felt that it was John Mahamad's sister. What they didn't know was that this, my client's mother, also bears the same name. So when we go to the CID, and I met the investigators, that Chief, what's the issue? They said, we have already gone and done recce at the residence of Madam Hawa Mahama. So I asked them, which Hawa? Then they said, oh, she resides around, they gave the place. I said, no. The persons whose names appear here, it's not that person. This is a retired nurse. At that time, even hot water had poured on this retired nurse.
Okay.
So we went to the woman's house. What saved the situation was that she had the old passports. That's what saved the situation. And they saw it. I took her there and offered a statement voluntarily. What has happened to Ken? What has happened to Ken? Has anybody touched him? Has anybody done anything to him? No. So what exactly is intimating there? And I heard Afenyomake, what is he talking about? What is Afenyomake saying? Oh, I mean, is it the case that we have
he is down-spirited?
Listen.
He is down-spirited, traumatized.
Down-spirited how? You are in America.
What had happened?
Listen, you are in America. An event happened in Accra, and you are down what? So he's strong enough to even communicate to Afenyomake. Seriously? I say Ken Oforiatta instigated the prosecution and investigation of Atoforsen.
And it's on the Jakpa tape.
Go and read the Jakpa tape. And what they had planned to do to Atoforsen. Look, do you know what we've survived under Akufo-Addo?
I feel your pain. Yeah,
and you see, I kept saying, and those days, whenever we went to court, I kept telling the prosecutor that, look, you see, be careful what you are doing. I know Atoforsen as my client and as a senior brother. What he does and what he means for this country, he means well. But you have a situation where a government conspired that at all costs they were going to convict him. to prove a point. To the extent, look at the extraordinary strength or extent that the then Attorney General Alfred Ocansey could go just to get conviction. Look, we are talking about somebody being sick. My own client, under Akufo-Addo, who had gone through dialysis for 19 years, was put in prison under Akufo-Addo's watch. What are we talking about? Look, in the Atoforsen trial, there was another person, Dr. Sylvester Nimana. Do you know what he went through? Dr. Sylvester Nimana, what he went through. Look, the man comes to court and he can barely see what was going on in the proceedings. Even that one was tolerated under Akufo-Addo, human rights lawyer. And Afenyo Makin is saying what? I mean, he should thank his God. I kid you not, that we have a president called John Dramani Mahama, who has an appreciation of humanity, not the one that we had previously. Look, Akufo-Addo had no, look, I won't say, I'll leave it there. Okay, but people went through hell under Mr. Akufo-Addo. What has started? We are just starting a drumming festival, and you're already complaining.
I see.
Nothing had happened. It is at the barest minimum. Just come, offer your statement. The matters will be investigated. And this special prosecutor has a history of letting Cecilia Dapa say, go to Yoko. That's his history. Those that he found that he could, who exonerated Akufo-Addo's appointee, what's the name? Edu Buahi. Who did?
OIC.
Who said the investigation on whether MPs were giving money when the 94 MP said Ken must go? Who exonerated the process? Is it not the same Kisi Ejabe?
Well, okay, that one will be an exoneration.
No, you for whatever is worth, he failed, so the matter died. And don't why he was the same person. So what exactly are the issues? Has anybody touched the person of Ken Ofori-Atta? No. All the SP is saying that be well and strong and come and assist the investigation. As we speak now, where from all the drama? Where from it? I am telling you, and I'll conclude on this. If Akufo-Addo can have the courage to call for the investigation of his predecessor, has John Mahama done so? So far, what are John Mahama's input in these matters? He said, look, let the due process of the law. If anybody is found to have done anything, let the law take its course. Okay. Beyond that, what has he done? Compared to the conduct of Akufo-Addo. Look, and then I'll conclude on this. Akufo-Addo simply just wanted John Mahama to be placed on an investigation for politics. Without more. He knew at all material time. But just for the politics. So MPP communicators can now go on TV and radio to say, oh, John Mahama Krani investigating. That is all that they wanted.
One of the cases that...
We've gone through all these things. We are quietly watching you people. And instead of thanking your God, you want to gaslight us.
One of the cases that the special prosecutor referenced Ken Ofori-Atta on is this SML deal. The man who led the investigation together with the team has been patiently listening to you. Manasseh is still on with that. Manasseh, can you hear me? Hello, Manasseh?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Perfect. Now, the specific question on the SML to Sami Darko, he says that the Special Prosecutor's Office has been in touch consistently with you after the KPMG report, also aiding in investigations on this matter. Now, to the extent that the SP has declared Ken Ofori-Atta wanted and a fugitive of justice on this SML case, is the timing also of concern to you, or based on your own correspondence with the SP?
Yes, I must say that's been of concern to me. I have listened to the conversation. If you heard Sami very well, he said I kept following up and asking because, like everyone else has expressed, the case, in my view, has delayed. And I'm saying this as an investigative journalist, and I've said on a number of platforms that investigative journalists do not have the resources and the power of state investigative bodies. So if an investigative journalist takes 1 year to investigate a case, the state institution can take less than that, maybe half a year or less, except in special circumstances that the investigations opens wider. I'm saying this because during this investigation, we wrote to the finance ministry. They did not respond. The GRA say we even invoked the right to information law. We couldn't do beyond that. And we took time where we needed an interview, we would request and all of that. If you are a state investigative body, you cannot be denied access to information. You have the power to bring people to be interviewed. You have access to certain documents that an investigative journalist has no power to have those ones. So if we did this investigation and the major issues in that investigation were already out, if anybody cares to look at pages 157 and 158 of the KPMG report, they would realize that what we said in the documentary of the company, that's SML's functions and all, have been confirmed. So if you are the OSP and then you have this report, including what we had done, I think it should have been done faster and earlier than this. That notwithstanding, I will not say that it is out of place, that if they have started, they should be stopped. I largely agree with some of the comments that have been made by Martin Pebo and others, but to say that I don't agree that we should follow Ken Ofori-Atta to the United States to interview him. He is a Ghanaian and has to come back to Ghana and go through the process. We have already spent so much money or lost so much money. Through him, we have paid 141 million United States dollars to SML. And after this investigation, I was convinced that this was not a company that should have gotten one pesewa from the coffers of the Republic of Ghana. So if you have a finance minister who was nearly killed by COVID-19, he came to the United States of America because the finance minister and then the politicians here were able to build their infrastructure, healthcare system and everything. He came and benefited from that. He survived, comes back, and would even go on to escalate the contract. And I'm saying that the consolidated contract, which was instigated or initiated by Ken Ofori-Atta, and then the GRA in their press statement after our investigation confirmed what we said, that a consolidated contract that the gold mining sector and then the oil production sector should be added to SML. It was Ken Ofori-Atta who initiated that. And at the end of the day, SML was entitled to over $100 million every single year. And the contract said 5 years, renewable for another 5 years. So even if we take the first 5 years, this company was going to get over 500 million United States dollars for something that they were not needed at all. So if somebody does all of that and then you go to Kolebu, sometimes I wonder how our medical personnel survive depression. And then basic equipment, we don't have it. And he is here back in the United States, and medical doctor here has told me that the hospital Ken Ofori-Atta is being treated is one of the best hospitals in the United States. So if he does all of that and comes here, and then we are suggesting that the special prosecutor and the state officials should again buy plane tickets, come and rent hotels, come and spend, and then interview him. I think that I disagree. What I agree with is we cannot catch a witch with physical force. I have listened to Eduji Tamaklo recount what members of the Mahama administration went through when Akufo-Addo came into office. Surprisingly, some of these things were never heard until recently. It is very wrong, and I heard him say that they could have been invited to come and write their statements instead of going to or being raided, having their houses raided with guns and all of that. If it was wrong then it should be wrong now. At the end of the day, we should get to a point that state institutions, like he suggested, when you're in government or whatever power you have, we can still do things in a very civil manner, get evidence, and then get people prosecuted. Because I do investigative journalism. I've told you I don't even have the power to summon somebody or force somebody to come for an interview. But we've been able to get evidence that have led to the cancellation of contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Some of our works have led to successful prosecutions. So I believe that we can have a way of going about this without every 4 or 8 years, some people coming to say, oh, this is bad, or you haven't seen it, you did it to us. And he mentioned that a lot of those raids, or whatever you call them, didn't even end in anything. You cannot go use the gun to get some evidence. That's exactly what I'm saying. So to that extent, I think we should look at how to go about such the use of force. But I still believe that in the case of Ken Ofori-Atta, one, the investigation delayed, and Sami Dako will tell you that I mentioned it to him anytime it came up. Because I am, like Martin Pebu said, a supporter, a staunch supporter of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. But I believe that the SML and some of the cases that are being investigated now could have taken those actions a long time ago. And with some of these offenses, the more you delay, the more people may tamper with evidence. Some of the places we visited, the depots and other places we visited in our investigation, as soon as the story aired, we had people from those places, institutions, calling, Manasseh, they are installing some computers here. I believe that these were supposed to have been there to facilitate the contract you people investigated, but they are now bringing it. They are doing ABC here. In one of the instances, I even alerted the OSP. I do not have the power to go and stop anybody or question anybody. If they had moved in earlier, some of these things could have been spotted, and then it would serve their purpose in the investigation.
Very important. The emphasis on timing, especially in at least this SML matter, is one that I put to Samir Darko that he acknowledged that correspondence with you. Oliver, and this is where I bring it in here, because one thing that Manasseh said, which cannot be underestimated, is the time after an investigation is done. In his case, he gives reference of some actions being taken by the persons cited for the corruption to cover their tracks. And that is expected. So the more you delay, then you would find it more difficult uncovering the said corruption that you are investigating. But the SP says they want to do a thorough job. That's why they're having to take that much time.
I'll go to the question of thoroughness in a bit. But I think one of the things I want to emphasize now is the purpose of the Office of Special Prosecutor. There's no doubt, and I like a lot of what Eduji was talking about in terms of what exactly has happened here. That is a lot of hula baloo about. Corruption fights back, and that's what we are seeing. One of the reasons why we set up the Office of the Special Prosecutor is to be able to disarm those who have made the work of the AG difficult whenever actions are taken against certain persons, and say that, okay, perhaps this is a window to depoliticize. It is why it is important that during the lifetime of a government, when allegations have been brought before you, and I must say this even before I go on, that corruption is by current government appointees, not former. The investigation is what we are trying to do after, but it is happening as we speak. So in the lifetime of the OSP, the work that needs to be done to put government appointees on their toll must happen in the life of the government as is going on. Now, when these things have happened and reports have been made to you, to wait after how many years, barely a month after they leave office, and say this is the time I want to invite them, it doesn't speak to the sense and understanding of the purpose of the office and why it is essential in corruption fight that we depoliticize the process and we don't add up to this. Then leads into conversations in Parliament where majority leader is now being invited to apologize for law enforcement actions within the House of Parliament. What are we doing? What are we doing? He does not speak for law enforcement agencies. This is not a political or partisan process.
So that's
NDC appointees are not mouthpieces of the OSP's office. They don't have to come and defend actions of the OSP or anything like that. So
so you said that Mama Yarga's apology on this raid on
it's absolutely of no moment.
Wasn't necessary.
It's absolutely of no moment. He has no understanding of what has happened. He shouldn't even wade into those conversations. So we should not allow, again, this is why from the very beginning I was insisting that the Attorney General must speak up on the necessity of the nolle prosequis. Because if we don't do that, we allow certain individuals to parade in this country and then claim some level of moral authority to be able to obfuscate. I myself sitting here, I was arrested over e-levy. I was put in jail and charged with treason over e-levy. What are we talking about?
When was the last time you went to court on that?
I am back in court on Monday on that child.
That's
the OSP.
Yes. Oh, that one too needs to go.
No. I mean, the Attorney General has spoken to me and given me assurance that he's going to file a nolle prosequi in that matter.
It has to go.
And that he has determined those charges to be baseless. I mean, a class 1 people can tell you it was. In fact, for 3 years, no step has been taken on that matter. So people have weaponized our judicial system. And we say we don't, you were talking about opening the Pandora's box. Yes, we must open the box. We must allow Ghanaians to see what has happened over the past few years. Because, what we have had is a regime that was committed to destroying our democracy. Absolutely what has happened over the past few years. And we must hold people accountable for it. This is not a time to come and blow on people's emotions and sentiment, trauma, and what are you talking about? You are being investigated to answer a question. Why are we not coming to play on semantics? So work has to be done. And if you are coming to be stop and start and be calling for apology because a Ghanaian citizen is being invited by an investigative authority, what are we talking about here? So for me, the OSP must understand its role, that it has in fact fed into this. If they took them on from the beginning and let heaven fall, whatever that the president was intending to do, even now, there are officials of the Trump administration, even appointed by the Trump administration, who are resigning because of things that the Trump administration is asking them to do. So if what's his name?
Prosecutor.
If the finance minister and other people were obstructing you thought that they were obstructing your work, you have to talk about it for Ghanaians to elicit Ghanaian support in this fight. We Ghanaians want to support the institutions that fight corruption because we know that there are powerful forces at play. We want to be able to help support that. But if you wait in this moment and after they have changed power and come to feed into this narrative as if somebody is being persecuted, it's unhelpful to the work that has to be done. So yes, delays must be acknowledged and apologized for. Let us not always put up this posture that no, everything is fine. We were always investigate. How many people have you invited to even in this matter? You know, and let us be clear. And I like that, you know, Martin has talked about this Charles Odubuahi matter and the ways in which he was cleared by the OSP. It was completely unethical in my view. This thing, we debated it at length. Yes, we have put up an institution that we all support. But when they make mistakes, we must also be able to point out that that mistake is inappropriate. So far, I want to know what senior official throughout the 8 years of the former administration, of the Nanado administration, was brought to book by the OSP. Just one. Absolutely nobody. So yes, so the questions that we must answer, because even if we are supporting an institution, we must also be ready to be able to critique that institution in the process.
So the job done on Cecilia Adapa was not sufficient enough?
What job was done on Cecilia Adapa?
I mean, I'm talking about the special prosecutor.
No, what job was done on Cecilia Adapa? What has happened? What has happened?
Okay, for minimalists like her, she lost her office. I like the word minimalism.
No, the president said that. The president said, she said, I am resigning. The president said, I have accepted your resignation and I know you will clear your name.
And until date, her name is done.
What are you talking?
She's gone.
So yes, there's a lot that has to happen. And the lot has to happen in the manner in which it is structured. I am, in fact, even in terms of how we review and how we go about the you know, opal and oral, that I'm calling it a restructuring of certain agencies. I would even be interested in combining the OSP and the Yoko offices. That we have to be able to they have to do more, you know, to reorganize a lot of these institutions that have you know, competing powers. And some says I started it and I gave it to you, and another person has shelved it. We have to reorganize the process.
Well, so you that call for the AG to give the explanation for the case he discontinued, he said was right. He heeded to that call, but as Edwige Tamaklo predicted, he's opened himself up for scrutiny because those reasons given are now subject of legal scrutiny.
You see, this is what I'm talking about. If you misinformation thrives in silence, I'm talking about, because in the absence of free talking about it, in the absence of, you know, Senior Kadio, Edwige himself, now talking about some of the things that have happened, Ghanaians will not be better appreciated and better informed on what is going on. We would only just take it that, oh, he's come, and as they are doing and running about town claiming that somebody has been cleared. In fact, after Damit gave his press conference, the Fourth Estate has published a fact check on some of the things they're saying that is absolutely false, what he's talking about. So you have to give people the rope. Give them the rope and let them come and speak. And then you take them on. There's a lot more that has to be revealed. We're not even there yet. Because Ghanaians need to understand the regime that was put in place. So that when the Ghanaian voter goes next time, you understand that this regime, even if it's 20 years, account has to be taken for what has been done. We've talked about how they've set this country back for decades. We have to understand why. Most people don't understand what has happened in this country. So this is what I feel, that the information is helpful for our democracy. Ghanaians are mature people. Don't then take it that, okay, let sleeping dogs lie, and let us not allow the window to be opened up on some of the things that have happened over there. No, I disagree. I disagree. Because a lot of these things are stomach churning. So let us put the facts out for everybody to see what has happened. And talking about, he go for a damage himself. I'm surprised he still has a license, to be honest.
Well, talking about the putting the facts out, I promised you that we're going to have some exclusive detail on this National Service ghost names. So stay with us. It's coming up here on Key Point. Suleiman Abrahima, the man together with his team who did this investigation, is with us in the studio. He's going to be joining us in a bit, but he's seated already, and we'll show you detail, because he's going to do a detailed PowerPoint presentation of that investigation. Some of the detail that you haven't even heard as yet, we'll give it to you this morning. But let's hear from Dr. Dominic Ayeni on just the reasons, the 3 reasons he gave for the decision to discontinue the cases as have been described as high-profile cases, for which has come up for conversation. Let's take a look.
A decision to terminate the criminal trial was animated in the main by 3 factors. The first was that for ethical and professional reasons, I could not in good conscience continue to prosecute some of the cases. The second was that for some of the cases, my own review and analysis of the charges showed clearly that the charges were defective, and some were filed against the promptings of plain common sense. The third was that in some of the cases, the evidence led so far that showed that there was a reasonable doubt as to the guilt of the accused persons, and no prosecutor should continue to pursue a case in the face of overwhelming doubt regarding the guilt of the accused person. Also, it is important to highlight the fact that in most of the cases in which I have terminated proceedings, the conduct of some of the individual judges left so much to be desired.
That's Dr. Dominic Ayeni there. And this was after calls from, in fact, it started from here. Lawyer Martin Pebu making that call that we needed the reasons behind the discontinuation of the cases. I was at that press conference. I carried a number of your questions that even the viewers had. 6 questions to Dr. Dominic Ayeni. And it's unprecedented, as a matter of fact. It's never happened that an attorney general would address a press conference giving reasons for discontinuing some of these high-profile cases. So is it a precedence that has to be continued, or in the words of Eddie Tamaklo last week, in fact, that's the reason why I brought you here again, that in doing so, he has only just opened up the Pandora's box and subjected himself and the reasoning to scrutiny, as we're seeing now. Counsel, quickly.
Good. Okay, so one short remark. So we can, Oliver, did the fact-checking, did they refer to this? Godfrey Dami says Dr. Ayeni is not the first to give reasons. I listened to the interview a bit. There was a case he mentioned, but I didn't hear it quite well. But he was clear that... So the fact-checking, Manasseh and this Suleiman Abraham, will you fact-check that point? He says there was a case he discontinued and he gave reasons. Though he lauded Dr. Ayeni for the more detailed work, but he said there was a case. I heard him. Right. So let's see what, the fact check, what it returns.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, so look, I doff my hat off to Dr. Ayeni. He's done marvelous. Kudos, kudos. And Oliver wrote a brilliant piece on it, right? Yes, this is what we want, and shared it on the Learned Friends platform. I hope it's been published somewhere. Yeah, because it was quite well written, Oliver. What a brofu. Right? Yeah, so Dr. Ayeni, by what he's done, has expanded the frontiers of our constitutional democracy. Yeah, no wonder he's walked his talk. You know, he taught administrative law for a while at the University of Ghana School of Law.
But he taught me admin law.
He was your boss in your chambers, right? Yeah, so he's walked his talk. So, by what he's done, he's broken that jinx, if I may call it so, because you see, Attorney General after Attorney General running away from giving reasons for a nolle prosequi. And the Supreme Court didn't also take that bold step when the Afoko case went to the Supreme Court. You remember this is the 3rd week we are referring to that. Gregory Afoko.
I asked a question on that, on your behalf.
Yes.
I'll play that response.
Excellent. Dr. Ayeni, yes, we can't wait for Gregory Afoko's bail. God bless you, because we need to move the frontiers of our democracy more and more forward. You see how public opinion is, helping to shape our democracy. We just pray that it doesn't turn out to be a 9-day wonder. Somebody said in 2017, Akufo-Addo did very well. So we should be careful not to start celebrating JM too early. We should wait for a while. So we'll see, right? Yes, so Gregory Afoko's bail, good one when it comes through. So as I've said, looking at it, he's done it. And done it brilliantly, right? Naturally, it's not to be expected that we will agree with everything he said. No. If we're to agree with everything that he said, then there will be a problem. It tells you that we are not thinking well. We all can't think alike. right?
Okay.
I hope your question involves me going into details.
Just in brief. Yes.
So, you know, Atufosin's case, that one in law, let me say loosely, res ipsa. The matter speaks for itself. I mean, I'm using it, the context is not right, but we like using it. When you say the matter speaks for itself, I mean, ordinary people will understand.
That's
though
the
legally, when you use it, it's a challenge in terms of the legal meaning. But in ordinary meaning, when you say the matter speaks for itself, yes, it's correct. It's all clear. Godfrey Dami's unethical conduct is written large on the Atufosin matter. We all heard the tip. Godfrey Dami said he was under extreme pressure from Akufo-Addo and Ofori-Atta to prosecute Atufosin to get conviction at all costs. So in such a matter, the court can't allow itself to be used for a political vendetta. This is the third week we are making this point. And you see, yesterday, as an afterthought, he now comes and tries to rationalize some of the things, saying that Jakpa was truly unwell. I was like, oh no, damn it, this is too late. This is too late, so I don't even want to give currency to it. After more than how many months? Now, Godfrey Dami is going to look for a pack of lies to come and tell in defense. Look, just accept it. You behaved immaturely on the day, and it will follow you for life. You were cautioned. You had a number of days. The day the tape came out, right? You had a number of days to the trial. I remember even trying to talk to one of his PAs. That look, Dami, stop this trial before you get embarrassed. He didn't. He thought, oh, you know, Dami priced himself as being an excellent strategist. Yeah, when you meet him privately, he thinks, oh, when it comes to strategy, nobody comes close to him. He's quite good. But this simple case, simple one, when the company, the Dubai company, offered the money, what's your interest? You can't win every case. There's no lawyer, no proper lawyer who goes to court, right, can win all his cases. It doesn't happen. I'm yet to see any lawyer in Ghana who can say that he's won, unless you choose all your cases extremely well.
Okay.
You know, so the Atufosin case, I mean, it's no brainer why it had to go. I know your time, you will soon sack me. So let me make this point. But I beg, Dr. Ayini, the Collins Dowda matter there, it cannot die like that. No. That one, with the payment of, is it about $200 million? And we are getting 1,500 and something houses. We pray that they do a value for money audit, not just government doing it. Let's compose an independent panel made up of civil society organizations and government. Suleiman Abraham is here, Mariada, Samson Ladi Ayenini, all the CDD people, Kwikuasa. Let's have a say so that we'll compose an independent panel to go into it. Let's see that, have we gotten value for money before we can let the Collins Dowda matter die. So for me, that case here is not dead. I'm talking about the Sagleme housing project. No, that plenty money. From where I sit, it doesn't quite sit well with me. So I want us to go to the bottom of the matter. Otherwise, then it means that when a new administration comes, I'll be leading the charges for them to reinvestigate. For that case to go back to court.
You will lead the charge?
Yes. The Collins Dowda matter. Let's go to the bottom of it. Let's get an independent panel to go into it. That money that was paid, did we get value for money? Listen, it's very, very, very important. Otherwise, then it will be like, so let me not say things that will show that I'm thinking in one direction. I just want us to get to the bottom of the matter, to know where the truth lies. Okay, because it's a lot of money. It's a lot, right? Yes.
Thank you. And Tawanklo, your position had been consistent on whether or not he should give reasons until last Thursday, when he did give reasons based on the calls from the likes of Oliver and Lawyer Martin Pebo, that should be done. He's been commended for it, but then again, now, just like what Lawyer Martin Pebo has just done, the reason given for at least one of the 7 cases is being questioned. Justified or not?
You see, again, I still insist that a nolle prosequia is a nolle prosequia.
You shouldn't give reasons.
And there's a well-settled view. I recall, I think Ida Kofi Kumsen, Nanado used to be his lawyer in one of these publication-related things. So in 2000, when the MPP won the election, then now defense attorney now became Attorney General and took the view that there was no basis. Ethically, how could you be prosecuting somebody that you defended simply because the rules have changed? You understand? That's aside that. If you recall, when President Kufuor and the MPP lost the 2008 election, Mrs. Ajman Rawlings was being investigated. Either carried them or one of those matters.
Carried them. There's some country.
Before the MPP handed over, the then Attorney General entered a nolle prosequia in respect of Mrs. Kunedu Ajman Rawlings and the others, and that was it, without giving any reason. There must be a well-tested reason why. Because, like I said, prosecution itself is a public policy tool. And so some discretion is allowed for the Attorney General. You initiate. If at the point of initiation you don't offer a reason, why should at the point of discontinuance you want to offer a reason? And so in the superior wisdom of even the people who put together Section 54 of Act 30 and 59 of Act 30, never envisage the situation where you need to proffer reason.
That was 1960.
It matters
and
not.
the UK, they are giving reasons.
You and I have disagreed on this matter, but you have your reason. I've seen the recommendation. The commendations given to the Attorney General for going against what has been the practice and the decision to offer reason. Definitely he has his, in fact, he cites His Lordship Justice Poorman's view in the Gregory Afoko and the Attorney General matter. But you see, if you heard and you read the reasons he gave, how in good conscience were you going to continue those trials? How in good conscience were you going to do that?
Okay.
How in good conscience were you going to persuade the appeal? When you read the well-reasoned judgment of His Lordship Justice Akabuafo and Bright Mensah, well-reasoned. I mean, you see logic. Look, again, I was involved in that trial. The day the court reversed the burden on us to show that we had authorization, I said, look, I mean, it's like saying that you are guilty. Come and prove you're innocent. That fundamentally offends a cardinal principle of our criminal justice system, the presumption of innocence. But that was what we were supposed to contend with. Look at Dr. Stephen Opuni Sedu Agongo. Look at that matter. Where in a submission of no case, all of us as lawyers here, a judge asks prosecution. Defense intends to tender this document through your prosecution witness. Do you have any objection? Prosecution, my lord, we have no objection. The judge himself recalls it. Now goes home to write a ruling on a submission of no case. And his slow motu now says that I am. Look, I mean, look, if not for wickedness and mischief, all the judge will do is that counsel, some matters are bothering my mind. I want additional submission on it, so that it will appear that you have given the people the right to be heard. The reason why you ask prosecution whether they have any objection to the tendering of those documents was that you want to offer them the benefit of hearing. Now, when you're alone at home, and I ask, my Lord Justice Onyenuga, who in the Opuni matter reasoned that way, he has a son in the public service of Ghana. If tomorrow another judge proceeds to deal with your son in that manner, how would you feel? And Godfrey Dami was defending this. Godfrey, where is your conscience? Or you don't have one?
Okay.
Look, Godfrey Dami, no, please. Godfrey Dami tells the public that there was no memo asking him to discontinue the trial.
Well, yes, he says if there is, he should produce it.
You see, Godfrey is just a pathological liar.
But
look, let me tell you, please,
was there a memo?
Listen.
Is that an internal?
You see, why he didn't know was that there was an email trace.
Can you imagine?
The DPP sent it via an email.
This memo is referenced.
So he took the memo away. That's even unethical for an attorney general to take memo to the house or shred them. You see, like the Ocansey, you have cotton wool
Okay.
Around your part of your body, and you are jumping over fire. Look, the DPP.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So if you look at the statement issued by the Honorable Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Akrotinga, he quoted portions of it. How can he quote a non-existent memo?
He said he didn't receive it. I think that's what I heard.
Look!
He said he didn't receive it.
No! It is his usual mischief and wickedness.
So are you saying that there was an internal memo?
Yes!
He says that if there is,
look,
you should produce it. And you are saying that the physical copy of it is an email trail that you reference.
So you see, there's a way to catch a liar. Give him more rope. And he will tie himself with it. That is what has happened to Godfrey. Look, silence is so golden that he should have just kept quiet and allow whatever it is. Now, you are denying, effectively trying to put your DPP and throw her under the bus. Meanwhile, there's an email trace
of this internal.
Yes, memo.
Okay.
And that is why the Attorney General quote portions of it, the reasoning why the DPP recommended that the prosecution of the respected Dr. Johnson Esiama be what? Discontinued. She reasoned, and that's why Dr. Ayeni quoted that portion in his statement. What is Godfrey talking about? Have you not harmed people enough? You are barely 50 years, and you have wronged everybody in this republic. You allow a 80-something-year-old man to use you to destroy the livelihood of people.
ACP Dr. Benjamin Agojo.
All these people are there.
Okay.
No, hold on. I saw that when you were stepping out.
He told me that I just added Agojo to the case. I just added him. Those were
added.
Yes.
Look, a young man who is barely 50 years, you allow 80-year-old man to use you to destroy professionals. Look at the way Godfrey went against, what's the name? Opuni. In fact, there was a day I asked Dr. Opuni, Doc, are you sure you have not taken anything belonging to Godfrey? He said, no. Look at how we treated Sedu Agongo.
Are they chasing the same girl?
I don't know.
I mean, Council,
Doc is married, so there's no issue.
No, it's on the line.
No. Now you are doing a knowledge protocol and reason.
You round up in a minute.
But so in rounding up, the point I just want to make is that the learned Attorney General has taken a view. Well, where I sit, I think we shouldn't have even proceeded. You have taken a knowledge prosecutor decision. That should. And you see, Godfrey says, the Attorney General relied on the views of defense attorneys. I mean, like, seriously. I was involved. Look, and just in response, a quick one, just 30 seconds. In response to the calling the other, I was counsel for second accused. I cross-examined the first prosecution witness, a reverend, and the chief director of the ministry. I asked him a simple question. You see, when you are doing a criminal trial, it's a criminal trial. There are standards. You have to prove the guilt of the person beyond reasonable doubt.
Okay.
That is what we... Look, I asked him, were you involved in the Sagleme housing project? He said, no.
Right.
How did you come by your testimony? You said document. So I asked him, this particular document, read what is... So let's
24 minutes.
Let's know that people are going through A, B, C, D. Now, I want to conclude on my own brothers. Oliver, just 30 seconds. Oliver Barker. Do you know what even the judge who granted him bail went through? Look, the judge who granted Gregory Afoku bail was immediately transferred to who? Do you know what people have gone through? And when they are talking, instead of allowing people, you see, I say democracy. The reason why this our constitution has survived is that there's benefit for people to vent out their frustration. It's also part of a democratic process.
Yes.
Even the right to demonstrate. They are all parts of allowing people to vent out their frustration allows them to carry the democratic process along. But don't come and gaslight us. You go, Fred.
25 minutes after 10. Now, the next 20 minutes will be for Suleiman Abrahima to give us the full detail
we
of
have
this
a
national
man
service
who can arrest
scheme.
ghosts.
And Don't do that. He is going to go through a full detailed PowerPoint presentation on the National Service ghost names expose. You haven't heard it, the details of it as yet. But this is what Dr. Dominic Ayene said in the Gregory Afoko case. Matikbebo, I asked this question on your behalf and on the many. Take a look.
I want to find out if you're going to review the case of Gregory Afoko. That is one that has come up for mention after these decisions that you took recently.
The memo on Afoko, I'm really very keen about Gregory Afoko's case. So the memo from the Chief State Attorney who is prosecuting the matter came to me 2 days ago. Okay? As I said, I don't want any of my decisions to be arbitrary without any reasonable basis. So if in terms of due process, internally, I ask those who are handling the matters, to write memos to me, briefing me generally. If I review the memo and I have questions to ask, I either call them to my office or I meet and say, can you explain A, B, and C, D in a supplementary memo to me? Okay? Then when they do that, and I'm convinced, I will take a decision one way or the other. So I have a memo on Gregory Afoko. Okay? I know he has suffered enough. He has suffered a lot. All right? I will take a decision on him, but I'll do so on the basis, of reasoned, on the basis of the fact that I have reasons for it.
This case has been running for over 8 years now. We're back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us. Right after this 2 minutes break, Suleiman Abrahima, Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, and then also with the Fourth Estate, led this investigation in National Service ghost names, is with us in the studio, a full PowerPoint presentation. Stay with us. We're back shortly. Welcome back to Keep On TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com, and also on YouTube as well. And so thank you. A number of you also sending us messages. Good morning, Tommy Nanforsen. Good morning to you, sir, and thank you very much for the message. Tommy Nanforsen says, yes, he's following us this morning, and to you as well, the guest.
Is that the veteran journalist?
Yes.
The venerable one.
He should be put in a Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, the trainings alone.
Indeed. And we have all benefited from the mentoring. Thank you very much. Also, this one here says, good morning. Whoever is defending Ken Ofori-Atta, seriously speaking, you say doesn't fear the Almighty God. This is Papa Bishu. Thank you. Richard Kumado says, good morning. When has prosecuting crime in this country become a celebrity gymnastics? Crime is crime, and crime investigators and crime prosecutors must be allowed to do their job, and they must be seriously focused on that. We waste time on so many funny things. You say, thank you very much. This one here says, from Mohammed in Salaga, good morning. I disagree with Samir Akun when he maintains investigations take time. Must it be always all investigation? These cases are too much of greater concern to Ghanaians. You say, thank you very much. And then also, Kojo Aka says, please, has the Office of the Chief of Staff confirmed Ken Ofori-Atta wrote to inform them of traveling abroad? If he did, what legal responsibility made him do that? Are all former government appointees required to do that? You say, thank you very much. And also, Prince Menka says, tell Edwin Tamaklo that I feel his pain. And then also, Prince Henry Koforidia, the NPP should go to court if they think the decision made by the Chief of Staff is wrong on the matter of the revocation of the appointments. Thank you very much. Togwi, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, as well as usual, sends a message complimenting on you for a number of the points that you made earlier as well. Thank you very much for the many messages that have come through. And as always, I always do acknowledge the messages and the 2011 messages. Thank you very much for sending them through. Suleiman Abrahima is a executive director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, and then also with the team at the Fourth Estate. They did this investigation into the National Service Scheme's Ghost Names saga. He's with us in the studio. Sule, appreciate you coming. Good morning to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning. And good morning to all my friends.
Good morning, Sule.
Portions of this story have been reported, but we want to get the full picture. Over to you, Sule.
Well, thank you very much, Alfred. I think that sometime late last year, this whole story came up. There were all manner of attempts to prevent the story from being told. You know, even before the story was aired, a judge granted an injunction against the publication of the story over claims that we hadn't interviewed the persons who were involved when we had given them opportunities in terms of writing letters, speaking to them on phone to say that we are available, and essentially they evading that opportunity given them to be interviewed. And then behind us, they went to court, and the court granted an injunction against the publication, and that took us into elections and all of that. I just want to start by saying that, I mean, of course, people hear of the Fourth Estate. The Fourth Estate is an investigative journalism project at the Media Foundation for West Africa.
Fantastic.
But because it is doing publications and all of that, sometimes people misconstrue it to be like a different entity or a different organization and all of that. And I think it's important that we put that out. So in this presentation, essentially, I'm going to take you through the numbers and how the scheme was operationalized. And here we see these 5 people, and we put them up because we are talking about the period of President Akufo-Addo. We are not talking about just last year when the story was being told.
Right.
And during that 8-year period, these are the people who were in charge of the scheme. So we had Honorable Mustafa Yusuf, who was the first executive director then, now is DG. He was there until, I think, up to 2020, and then had two deputies, Nanabi and Gifty Oware. And then later, after the 2020 election, Mr. Sibe was appointed. Gifty was retained there as deputy, and then had another gentleman as a deputy director at the place. So these are the 5 people who have managed the place since 2017, 2018, all the way to 2024, end of 2024. Now, let's just look at the numbers. I think the recent statement from the presidency was essentially about the 2024-2025 national service year. And that's where the 81,000 figure comes up. But it didn't start just in 2024. So this is the last one.
Yes.
So we put an asterisk there to refer to it as the one that, you know, is contained in the presidency's statement. But it started all the way from the beginning. Yes. But here's the thing. So if you look at 2017-2018 national service year, national service, the secretariat always puts out the total number of persons who are eligible for national service that year on the basis of how many students are graduating from the eligible tertiary institutions in the country who will be enrolled for national service. So every year they put out the announcement. So if you look at that year, the very first year of President Akufo-Addo, 2017-2018 national service year, they announced that 91,871 students or graduates are eligible for national service. In the end, 88,939 took up the national service. And all people we've spoken to say that should be the norm, because it's not every graduate coming out of school in that same year who will take up national service. Some will travel abroad, some may, go into private businesses and avoid doing national service, and so on and so forth. And so it's not everyone who graduates in that year who will take up national service. So that year you would see that the number of people eligible, you had fewer, 2,000 less, those who took up their service. And that is what it's supposed to be. But the following year, 2018-2019, they said 85,708 people are graduating and are eligible for national service. But see what happened. 135,603 were those who were claimed to have done the service. So a difference of 49,895. So the ghost names started from the second year, 2018-2019. 49,895 yes. Ghost names. Yes. And these are not our figures. In fact, these are figures presented to the Parliamentary Select Committee on Education last year. So it's not our figures.
The Parliamentary Select Committee had this information?
Yes, they got this. Okay. And what surprises us is, if you look at the pattern, I wonder why nobody at that committee asked them that, but how can we have in just 1 year this difference in terms of the numbers? So 2019-2020, they said 77,962 people were eligible. But in the end, they told Parliament that 114,000 did the service. So 36,000 more. 2020-21, they themselves announced to the public 86,000. Then in the end,
there's 86,078 were the eligible personnel to be.
These are the graduates coming out from school, from all the eligible schools, our universities, private, public, polytechnics, and all of that. The total number, 86,078 people. But in the end, mysteriously, we get 125,000
being deployed.
Being the ones that they say they have deployed. So they got 38,972 more personnel to do the service. From where? We don't know. 2021, 2022, they said 81,081. Then they deployed 110,000. So a difference of 29,000. Then the worst started happening. 2022, 2023, they themselves said 115,240 people were eligible. But see, they say 179,309. So a difference of 64,000. More than half of the number that they themselves announced. Difference of 64,000. Then 2023, 2024, they said 122,000. Then they deployed 182,142, a difference of 59,000. And then the very recent one, the handing over notes that they gave, claiming that the total number of people, they have is 180, but in actual sense, it's just 98,000 people, and we have a difference of 81,000. So the question I ask is, but why would the parliamentary committee, for example, look at in just 1 year, 81,000 people eligible for national service, and in the following year you have 115,000? How did we get that numbers? Then 115, 122, 122, 180. How many new schools were built and how many graduates were coming out, each year? So this is just the figures. Now, if you look at the figures in terms of how much we are losing, so because 2017, 2018, not all people took up, it means that we didn't lose. But that was the very first year of President Akufo-Addo. I think at that time they wanted to wait and see whether.
That's what I say. It's first year.
First year. So let's do it. Or we haven't learnt about the tricks and all of that. But the first year, if you look at it, the 49,000 out of the 559 allowance that was being paid to candidates every month or to personnel every month, you have 334 million. That is about how much the state would have lost. The following year, 242 million. 261 million.
And you are multiplying based on the amount of the allowance paid.
Yes, allowance paid per month times 12.
Times 12.
Yes.
By this 49,895.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Then the following year, 2022, 2023, 429 million. 23, 24, 513 million. And the 24, 25, which the government has just talked about, remember, but for the arrears that we are told, it means that they would have been paid in October, November, December, and January. And just for the 4 months, we were going to pay to ghosts 234 million.
This for 2024, that's this year?
Yes. So if allowances were being paid on regular basis, so November they would have been paid.
December.
October, November, December, and January. They would have been paid. And this is how much would have gone to ghost.
234.2 million Ghana cedis.
Yes.
Hey.
So the question then is asked, how is all this created? And remember...
And you put that in total, the potential annual financial loss...
Yes, so potential annual financial loss of about 2.2 billion Ghana cedis.
2.2 billion?
Yes. Ghana cedis. Now, before the elections, one of the areas that Dr. Bawumia used to, really highlight as a success story of how the Ghana card has been used to eliminate ghost names was the National Service Authority or National Service Secretariat then.
Yes.
Because he went there and they briefed him that, we have integrated the Ghana card into a new system called the Metric app. And with that, we are able to eliminate any ghost names. And so far, we've kicked out about 14,000. And this is because without a Ghana card, the system would not allow you to enroll.
Yes.
And so to enroll in the scheme, you must have had a Ghana card, which is integrated into the system. So the question is, how then was this whole thing being done? Now, the scheme is, for every year under the current system, the schools that are eligible are supposed to onboard their graduates directly onto the system. So every school has an access to the system. So University of Ghana would say we have, let's say, 5,000 graduates. This is the list. These are the index numbers. So Edugita Maklo 224488, Oliver 33 Martin 2299 So your index number, your program, and your name. So the universities would onboard the list directly, after which they would sign a declaration to say, in the event whatever I have given is false, I will be held liable. So the universities will do that directly. But the Service Secretariat also has the opportunity to enroll persons they call private candidates. And private candidates means persons who should have done national service the previous year or 2 years ago or 3 years ago, who didn't do it, and because it's a requirement, are now saying, I want to come and enroll. The requirement is that if you completed UCC in 2021 and you didn't do national service and now you want to do it, you have to come with your certificate, an attestation from UCC, your Ghana card to prove that indeed you are the one, the university has given you confirmation that yes, this person completed this university and here is the certificate. These are the requirements before they onboard you. So it's clear.
Yes.
But this is how the scheme works. So people sit down, create fake student index numbers, assign them names, assign them universities, and then onboard them as private candidates. So supposedly people who didn't do national service previously. But the question is, how can you have about 49,000 people or 64,000 people in 1 year coming and saying, we didn't do national service previously, but we want to do it now? So if you look at it, for University of Education, and I must say that the schools that they use the most, University of Education, Winneba, and University for Development Studies, UDS.
UDS and UEW.
Yes, they are the dominant schools.
They are the highest number of the ghost names. Any reason why?
I think that if you look also into the system, about 90% of the names are not, let me say, northern names or Muslim names. And so I don't know why. But whether the cabal is from these regions or whatever it is, I don't know why. But these schools are the dominant ones, but almost every school is used. So if you look at Winneba, this is how they give their index numbers. Straight numbers. Like University of Ghana. I went to University of Ghana. So you have straight index figures. So 2244, blah, 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 blah. But look at what they created for people in the system. And thousands of these. I think the first one is basically somebody's Ghana card number.
2021-04-003.
No. They begins here. This is one person's. Sorry, this is one person's index number.
So flip. Yes.
Yes. So 3907 GH slash da 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 da. That's the index number for someone. And then UEW that VLOT da 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 UEW that. So we sent the list to these universities, and they say no, but we don't know anything. We don't have index numbers like this. So this is University of Education Winneba, and there are thousands and thousands of these. This is Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. They also use just figures, absolute numbers.
Wow.
And look at the fake index, some of the fake index numbers that they've created for assigning students to that university, that these are students who completed K and UST, didn't do national service, and they are now enrolling. And these are all 2022, 2023 national service year. So you have basically maybe a Ghana card number-like system that they use for them. This is University of Cape Coast, another school that they used quite a lot. And Cape Coast has this index numbering that is quite complex, depending on the course you are doing. But see, the same university, they give different patterns of index numbers. Somebody is UCC slash this, somebody is SS slash that, and so on and so forth. Then you take University for Development Studies. So here, again, they also use the Cape Coast pattern, where your course indicates your index number. So B.Ed, Basic Education, so the person has BES, 04, da, 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 da. But these are the numbers they use for University for Development Studies. UDSS, EST, some of them don't even have the preface in terms of the course that they are doing. Other universities that were assigned students fraudulently, UPSA, Valley View University, Dambai College of Education, Tamale Technical University. Now, as a result of the creation of this fake thing, in 2022-2023 service year, for example, we discovered during the analysis that some 226 students had the same name, doing the same program, in the same university, in one academic year.
226
226
students. They had the same name.
Yes, the same name.
Alfred Ocansey, 226
226 students.
Had the same
in the same university, doing the same program in the same academic year.
Alfred Ocansey, University of Ghana,
yes,
political science.
Political science, 2022, 2023. You know, so, and the person's name is Abubakar Fuseni. And the index number given was this. And you have 226 Abubakar Fuseni.
What is his age? What's the age they gave him?
And the age is 59.
59 years.
And this is from the National Service System. It's not like somebody telling us or whatever. This is data, you know, scratched from their system, taken from their system. So a 59-year-old Abubakar Fuseni, 226 of them
had the same Abubakar as Fuseni.
Yes, doing integrated development studies, University of Development Studies, you know, in the same year. Now, UDS, yesterday I saw posts on social media saying, oh, we don't even do UDS now. We don't do integrated development studies. That program now is with the SD, is it SD Jumbo or something, in WA. But this is a creation of some people. They just have to create something and assign a university, you know. So you have 226 students, same name, same program, same university, same academic year. Because when you are perpetrating fraud, I mean, it's
well calculated,
yes. So in the same database, you have persons whose age 90 years, 80 years, 70 years.
So it's not only the 59 years. There's
no,
80 years.
59, he's younger. You know, you had persons 90 years. So for example, 93-year-old Nimatu Salifu was listed as a UDS graduate posted to Kiyagi DA Primary School in the Upper West region. Another person, 91-year-old Ruth Abdullahi, supposed graduate of UDS, was posted to another school, Upper East region. 82-year-old Mahama Ali, another supposed graduate from UDS, posted to Anglican school in Sehuyoso in the Western North region. So if you look at here, so we decided to, from the system, this is the system of the NSS or NSC. So you would see here Muhammadu Ali, and this is the person.
The same picture?
Yes, the same picture, you know, so this is the person in the system. And then you would see where he is posted to. So institution, University for Development Studies, and here would indicate where he's been posted to.
I see that 91-year-old Ruth Abdullahi, 91 year.
So here you would see submitted age 82 years, date of birth 1942, 0101. So, and this is in their system. It's not like we put it there. So that, I mean,
1942.
So for Nimatu Salifu and Ruth Abdullahi in the system, if we had the time to bring everybody, you will see it like that.
I see.
Now, the other thing that they did was that they said you can only use Ghana card. And that's what they told. Without Ghana card, you can register. But in their own system, you would see people using fake ID cards and manipulated ID cards. Now, you look at here, 44-year-old, the name on this ID card says the person is Ophelia Akolgo. Now, if you look at this picture, it's not even the same person.
Yes.
But they have to just, any ID card they can find, they have to just put it in the system. So this person is Ophelia Akolgo, born in 1983. But here, see, 1980. On the ID card of the person says 1983. In the same system, the person's submitted age indicates that 1980. But again, if you look at here, full name, Alasan Salamatu. Alasan Salamatu here, on the card, we have Ophelia Akolgo. So Alasan Salamatu is using Ophelia Akolgo's card. And then you see here, status, personnel posted.
Wow.
And this is from their system.
Next one. Yes.
So the next one, another incident of fake ID. So this is the person to be posted. Clearly, a lady.
Yes.
Right. I see the ID card used.
It's a man.
Yes, and this is supposed to be the service person's ID card in the system. Now, in the system, it says submitted means of identification, ID type provided. And the instruction is, please upload picture of your Ghana card.
And this is the
Ghana
Baga.
This is Bagabaga College of Education. The person is Nymphant Joel Satin. By the way, we've contacted the person with this name, and he's saying that at the time we were in school, we were never doing national service after training college. And even the ID, they've just manipulated it. No. Now, so this is a lady with a man's ID card, Nymphant Joel, but see, full name provided. This is personnel details. Full name, Idrisu Fatimata. Idrisu Fatimata here, Nymphant Joel here, and the person is a different person here. This is from the National, and you see, this is just a screenshot from the National Service database. Again, the same person's ID is used for a different person, Nymphant Joel as the ID name, and is Idrisu Al Hassan in terms of personnel details. And when you go to status, personnel posted.
Wow. Another one.
Another one here, 45-year-old lady. The ID card they use, they say, please upload your Ghana card. The Ghana card they put there is Picona Limited, Tamale, somebody's private company, and the ID card for staff.
Interesting.
And Abdullah Asia. But you come to this place where they have personnel details, and the name is Al Hassan Salamatu.
Wow.
Here, somebody is using Social Security card for submission, for enrollment, and it is enrolled. Here, you know, for here, there's no even ID. They just created something and put it there. Same here, you know. And,
all of them.
The person used some fake voters ID to create it, and this is from the portal. And if you look at it, different. You know, this is supposed to be the same person throughout. So photo on national ID. So this is the national ID. Uploaded photo is this. Live photo when they were capturing the person during registration.
Right.
And then, so it's supposed to be the same person, but you find that these are even different people. The worst of it is we had a guy, a Kenyan called Kwame Donko.
A Kenyan?
Yes.
What if the father is...
So here's the explanation.
Here's
the explanation. So this guy is said to be 72 years in the system.
72 years?
Yes, a Kwame Donko man is said to be 72 years. And then he is posted. So it was quite curious to us. We did a Google reverse image search, and it turned out that this is somebody sitting here somewhere in Kenya. You know, he's a human resource manager at i3 Technologies in Kenya, and his real name is Emmanuel Mutio.
Wow.
So
this is how
the picture they just got thousands and thousands and thousands of people into the system.
And you provided all this information to ORA?
Yes, we did.
And to ORA,
to the
special prosecutor as well?
Yes.
Okay, so then you have done your work.
Yes.
And then, so it's left to them to take it up. Exactly. So I really do appreciate you coming and giving us this full detail, the full picture. The next phase of this would be what happens next. That's really the most important thing, because now there is some evidence to what we have just seen. And so the oral team, 2 of them will be on the show next week together with you again to talk about what happens next after this detail given to us. Suleiman Abrahima, thank you so much for coming. And Lawyer Matik Pebu, Digital Maklo, Lawyer Oliver Bakavomawo. Gentlemen, thank you so much. And then also to Manasseh Azria Wini, thank you very much for joining us. I was clothed this morning by Kogra Clothing. Call them on 0244 238 341. My name is Alfred Ocansey. Have a great weekend.